Peace. Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you back to another edition of the Foul Playland. As always, I am Sir Foul Player of Brooklyn, coming at you live from the tri-state area. Although I'm a native son of Brooklyn through and through, still a Brooklynite, but I don't live in Brooklyn any longer. Who cares? In spite of that, though, I do like to have interesting conversations. And a lot of times in this channel, a lot of people don't comment much, and I'd rather have the interplay where I'm going back and forth rather than me blabbering, because a lot of times I could I find my thoughts in the midst of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, but today's show, oh, this fucking bitch, god damn it, cat fucked up my camera, my people. My apologies. Get the fuck out of here. Get out. Out. Damn. Get the fuck out. My apologies, people. This cat messed up the camera. Good. My apologies, my peoples. Damn, I hope my shit's still working. See, this is why I like when the whole interplay, that way I know that way I know when my streams messed up too. I mean, I worry about these things. Oh, here we go. It worked again. But today I want to have a open debate. Like, I'm gonna put my link out. I mean, so long as you don't come on no clown shit or like fucking we could have an open debate. You know what I'm saying? As long as you don't try to overtalk and like be on no bird shit, I'm willing to have a debate or like chop it up with these things, build, as we say, on the subject, as we say in New York. But ultimately, I mean, like with the debate in terms of hip hop and whatnot, I mean, it's made to seem, or that I think they're trying to carve out like a new rule in a sense, as to like, just because you're of an ethnicity that you could speak on hip hop and others can't. And that's not the case. I mean, like a lot of dudes were finding hip hop at least after the 90s, from what I remember seeing, and I've been a hip hop head, or hip hop's been my favorite music since 87, 86, Fat Boy era. Personally, as a youngster, when I was a little older, I mean, like before I hit 10 years old, that's when I started seeing hip hop become a little bit more commercialized, but it wasn't making it out like to the mainstream. And I'm talking about like the Rob Bass days, like It Takes Two, or Milk D, maybe like the Top Billin', like that era, like those songs that were like a little bit more like way popular, that broke the landscape, that you would hear them throughout the summer. That stuff didn't start happening until at least the mid 80s. You know what I'm saying? But now you have a lot of like Johnny Come Latelys that try to say like what's hip hop and what's not. And my contention, being that I'm a Puerto Rican of New York City, is that Puerto Ricans have been around since the beginning of hip hop. If you want to say that some shit elsewhere inspired what was eventually become hip hop, that's another case. But all the other shit that people may bring up, whether that be like a little bit of dancing that was done, which looked like break dancing, that predated hip hop, or whether it be like James Brown or other artists like doing like scat type wordplay that sounds like rap, created contribution is different. Absolutely. And like, I'm not gonna say that Puerto Ricans created hip hop, but if we were around since Jump Street, as soon as there was a hip hop party, 100% guaranteed, even though I wasn't there in the 71 and 72 in the Bronx, I could guarantee you without question. And that's debatable too. I mean, like if you want to say that it started in Bronx River, there was Puerto Ricans there that were in and around chilling with black dudes. There's never been like no like dissension, like black versus Puerto Rican in New York City. Shit just doesn't happen that way. Like there's never been really dissension between black and Jamaican and Puerto Rican like that. I mean, if it is, it's like these small off like brand issues. But I mean, my brothers, who are black, Puerto Rican, like since I was a youngster, I mean, there's never been static like that. I mean, do we have different cultures in a sense? Of course. I mean, like Puerto Rican speak Spanish. I mean, a lot of us look like me. Like I could pass for a white boy. But my older brother, Carmelo, I mean, he's fucking black. He's black. You know what I'm saying? Like, you are a damn lie. You don't even know what I'm saying. That's the glory. But you know, and that is not the same with other Latin dudes across the country. I mean, like, you know, in LA, you have a Chicano culture and it's really got very little to do with the black culture like that. Besides the fact that they're both came up with each other and like that they're both in LA geographically. You as a white boy, yeah. But no, y'all didn't create hip hop. Nobody said that Puerto Ricans created hip hop. And you are lying. I'm 57 from Brooklyn. There was definitely division between Puerto Ricans and black. Sure, what part of Brooklyn were you from? But as for like, are there divisions? I'll put it like this. You know, I've seen people banging on each other in New York City my whole life. It's never really been, besides like gang shit, like Latin Kings versus Bloods, let's say. Like to me, in the streets of New York City, and I ain't no fucking herb. A lot of these dudes that comment on these things are like internet dudes that just started getting radicalized, like during the COVID era and shit. But in the streets of New York, I mean, like if you were to say that there was some big rivalry that existed between like black people and Puerto Rican people, anybody would laugh at you. I mean, like, you know, all my peoples are fucking black for the most part. Like the ones for the most part, I rock with now. I mean, like in my hood in Sunset Park, from my old people that I mean, and again, I was in the gang life a little bit, but the peoples that I'm still cool with now, like, I mean, for the most part in Brooklyn, that I still go like to funerals, birthday parties. I mean, the large majority of them are black cats. If you were to say like, I like, you know, there's some like rival or rift between like any of my friend group, like, I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's like such a dumb notion, like in terms of New Yorkers. But I don't know how they do it in the South. I mean, I do know how they do it in the South. I mean, I've gone all over the country, but what exists in New York is way different than what exists outside of New York. Period. I mean, let me read some of these comments, and thank you guys for commenting, bro. I even if you don't disagree with me, I mean, even if you agree or disagree with me, I'm glad. I'd rather be having an interplay. And also, I left the link in the StreamYard if anybody wants to come through. But as long as you don't do on no clown shit and don't filibuster. That's like sometimes people go off and like give an opinion for like 10 minutes, like based on some emotional shit. Like fucking I ain't gonna do all that. If you want to build and like we go back and forth, that's fantastic. I'm from Brownsville and Hempstead, New York. Oh, that's what's up, Mark Jones. My mom's actually worked in a shelter in Brownsville, 808 Saratoga. I think it's still there too. Right outside of the Brownsville train station. Also, you late so comers of New York, concealing Black Americans don't know New York history. I don't know what that means. We migrated up and still have family down south. Yeah, that I mean, like I remember a lot of people dipping off like in the summer in New York, like to go visit southern relatives, like in North Carolina and whatnot. That's always like that's kind of like been a tradition in a sense. But I mean, I noticed like what I'm starting to notice now is that a lot of people on the internet are trying to dictate how shit should go, like in real life or in the streets. Joe disrespected the wrong people, period. I mean, I think Joe, in a sense, when the popular interview that he had with son from New York, I don't know his name, Matt Hoffa. It seemed like he was ready to go with that comment. I ain't watched the whole shit. I ain't gonna front. I don't, and I don't rock with Fat as far as lyrically and whatnot. Like Fat Joe is overrated. He's like a T.I. type dude. like getting credit for no reason. As far as the skills go, there's a ton of Puerto Rican dudes that are lyrically nicer than Fat Joe that haven't even been signed. I mean, like I've seen them my whole life. You know, whenever there's ciphers, it's not like there's Puerto Rican guys that are like just in the cut, like, oh God, you know, I don't want to get in amongst these black fellas like that are doing this scat back shit. Nah, bro. If there's a cipher in New York City with dudes rapping, oh, Mr. Polymath, I seen this name before. Oh, okay. Peace, Boxing Scott. How you doing? Oh, peace.
What's up, bro?
That's you, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I'll just finish my point. But as far as like in a cipher in New York, you know, it'd be all complexions of New York as far as the hood populations, which are, when I was coming up, Puerto Ricans, some Dominicans, but like Dominicans, like when Dominicans first started popping up in New York, I remember Puerto Ricans and black dudes making fun of them, like, yo, these dudes don't wear socks. You know what I'm saying? Like, we would always build together. And like there seems to be like a rift now in which they're trying to like separate even Caribbean, as in Jamaican dudes, Panamanian dudes, from like black dudes in New York, which is ridiculous. I mean, like, I've had these debates like politically per se, in which like where I'm like chopping it up with my peoples who are like West Indian, let's say, and when they speak of themselves, they speak of themselves as black. So like now, I mean, like you have like Johnny Come Lately types like Tariq Nasheed who are trying to make a new history as to like how things are and how like people should be with each other. And it's just basically not to build. It's like basically, like y'all ain't this, or like y'all like aren't a part of us in a sense. I mean, and to me that's ridiculous. I mean, like, are Puerto Ricans responsible for the creation of hip hop? I mean, like, we were there from the beginning. I mean, like that's a humongous contribution. As far as like our contribution emceeing, very limited. I mean, like we're underrepresented in a sense, but no, that we help like create like rapping and whatnot. I mean, like, no, but like, were we there from day one? That can't be debated. It wasn't like there were a bunch of black dudes in the Bronx, New York, doing like some major party movement or whatever kind of movement in which Puerto Ricans weren't in the cut alongside of our black brothers in the Bronx. Because everywhere black dudes live in the Bronx, Puerto Ricans live in the Bronx. Yo, Mr. Polymath, I'm sorry. I've been going off on a tangent. Let the people know who you is and do comment, my friend. You still there, Mr. Polymath? Oh, he'll come back. Bro, how old are you? I'm
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, Mr. Polymath. I'm sorry.
So, bro, this is only a problem, bro. It's only a look. So anybody who knows me knows I'm only FBA when it comes time to reparations. Other than that,
Also,
I feel like,
could you let the people know where you're from? I'm sorry. Like,
oh, I'm from Texas.
Okay.
So I disagree with a lot of the stuff that the FBA people claim, but I do like think if they pass out reparations, it should go to who it goes to, and that's FBAs. But other than that, I don't believe in separating. Now, I think that this is a problematic conversation because Puerto Ricans will like only be black when it's convenient. Like, I've only heard Fat Joe say like, yeah, I'm black when it's convenient. But like within the culture of blackness, they separate themselves. And black people are really mad and envious because we can't do that. We can't
separate. Some examples of that though, like that you've seen outside of Fat Joe, especially. And listen, Fat Joe doesn't represent all Puerto Ricans. I'm a person that doesn't like Fat Joe's music ever. Never liked one of his albums. I never thought one of his albums was great. At best, his best album was probably JOSE. And that album was probably like a 5 out of 10. But give it like, do you have some examples, Mr. Polymath?
I'll give you an example. For instance, like in boxing, right? There's a content creator that's from New York and he's Puerto Rican, and he constantly dropping nigga, the word nigga, right? And people say, well, you can't say that word, and he'd be like, why not? I'm Puerto Rican, you know, I'm black. But then when somebody calls him black, he'll get angry at them, like, I'm not black, I'm Puerto Rican. So it's like, if they say hip hop was started by black people and Puerto Ricans identify as black, there should be no problem, correct? If Puerto Ricans identify as black, they're including you in there by saying black people started hip hop. But then why do Puerto Ricans get mad? It's because they don't see themselves as black. And that's the underlining issue with all of this stuff, is that they don't pick a side. If you black, this is not even a conversation. You were there, you know what I mean? You were within the culture and you identify as black. Therefore, you helped created hip hop. But because they want to separate themselves, that's why we're having this. Well, it was 3 Puerto Ricans when it originated, when they were doing the beatbox. It's just like it goes down this deep rabbit hole of just look, if you black, say you black. Problem
My
solved.
argument is per se, because I don't identify as black. I identify as Puerto Rican straight up. Even though Puerto Ricans consider themselves Spanish, black, and Indian, I identify as Puerto Rican. I mean, my brother is darker than you, Mr. Polymath, and he identifies as Puerto Rican, even though he gets mistaken for black. And there's a lot of black people in the island. You know what I'm saying? But as far as there was a point I wanted to make. I'm sorry, I mixed myself up. But are there distinctions in the culture? Absolutely. But I'm sorry. I lost my point in amongst this. I'm gonna but keep cooking if you could, please.
Yeah, so basically I think that's where a lot of this stems from. Like I said, when you start, your opening statement was, identify as Puerto Rican, and it's like, in New York, who's within the culture? Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Trinidadians, etc. You know what I mean? But somebody like DJ Academics, he's from the islands. He identifies as black. He don't separate himself. Say, no, I'm Jamaican, man. I'm Jamaican. He says he's black. So there's no confusion. That's why he's accepted and embraced by the culture, because he embraces the culture. I don't like the trans fluid people that come in and they won't lay a flag. They spend their whole lives around us, fighting with us. You know what I mean? Grouping up with us and doing all this other stuff. But when it comes time to be black, it's like, hey, now, well, I'm Puerto Rican. And, Puerto Rican has a culture in itself. You know what I mean? And none of the stuff that comes with Puerto Rican culture is anything that it kind of like associated with hip hop, or nobody thinks about it. Nobody, if I dressed a certain way right now, I started talking a certain way and started mimicking a Puerto Rican culture, nobody would say you acting black. So there's a distinct difference between the two. But Fat Joe with the fades and all this other stuff, the clothes, the culture that comes with it, it's black. I mean, I don't even know why this is a debatable issue. Everybody knows. Like, I think the argument was that, Puerto Ricans was there at the beginning of hip hop. And it's like, I don't think anybody would dispute that. And not honestly, you know what I mean? But what we're saying is they were there participating within the culture, but that doesn't make them the culture. It's in the same way that there were slaves around when they signed the Constitution. That don't mean black people were responsible for the Constitution.
Nah, but there's a different issue. But also, like, you actually made my point that I wanted to make earlier, in that even though I'm Puerto Rican and I'm a New Yorker, and like our culture is embedded in New York. I mean, there's really not that much dissemination between like our two cultures. I always lived amongst black people along with every other Puerto Rican in New York City. I mean, there's really no Puerto Rican communities. When there's a Puerto Rican Day parade, I mean, a lot of the people there are black. But what I wanted to say is that in spite of the fact that Puerto Ricans do have a culture or a country that we could look towards, that still doesn't stop the fact that as soon as hip hop started, we were there. Like, we fucked with it. Like, it was our shit. Like, it had drums. We're a people of percussion, just like black people are. I mean, and it's always been an undertone since the beginning. I've only started seeing people set trip here and there regarding any of this stuff, and it's really riveting up now in 2024, where you have probably like the peak of people that just basically live their lives and set standards online, whereas this has never been a standard for me. Like, as far as being a New Yorker from the hood in New York, like if somebody would have tried to check me on any of this shit, like in New York back in the day, or any of like anybody I'm cool with, like it'll probably be like fighting words type shit. You know what I'm saying? Like now I'm not saying that like, my perspective should be where this conversation goes, but like from Jump Street, like we've been around. And I sort of feel like, as a New Yorker, in a sense, that a little bit of this, as far as where Tariq Nasheed's perspective was, I didn't watch the whole documentary though, is that they're kind of like trying to obfuscate the history in a sense, as far as, all right, hip hop started other place. I mean, like, you know, hip hop's contributions like were rooted elsewhere, like, you know, outside of New York in a sense. I don't know, and I feel like a little bit people are sour that Puerto Rico, like, and that's a separate issue. But I think also that a lot of cats, namely outside of New York, honestly, are a little bit sour that we were there from Jump Street, and it's no big thing. I mean, like, it's not like, to me, it's not like a something that we waved around like, oh, Puerto Ricans, like, you know, ran hip hop. Like, whoever said Puerto Ricans had a 50-50 contribution, that's ridiculous. I mean, like, but the fact that, in a sense, outside, if they want to make it seem as if like hip hop was created as a solely black culture, it had Puerto Rican fans from day one, before they pressed records. I'm talking about 71, 72, the birth of hip hop, the real birth of hip hop, that it had Puerto Ricans dancing to it, rocking with it, probably rhyming and all that, whatnot too, since day one. But then you have like dudes on the internet that, like, I mean, like, to me, I just heard of FBA. You know, I like what happened to ADOS, but then it's almost like, all right, like, we're gonna rock with this like new thing, and it's not like to build anything like amongst us. It's basically like, all right, these dudes ain't part of us, these dudes ain't part of us. I mean, nobody, you know, that's where I get tied up.
I think it's a matter of black people just want to be respected. We look at it like we don't have anything. Like you talked about Puerto Rican having culture. Everybody knows black people's a stolen race, right? What's wrong with acknowledging the obvious? We know Puerto Ricans were there. You know what nobody's mentioning? There were also white people that were poor in New York that participated in hip hop. They might have not been the architects or entrepreneurs of hip hop and the creators, but they was there. No white person would come forward and say, well, you know, we was there at the beginning, so y'all got to give us our proper credit. It's like, come on, bro. Everybody looks at hip hop as black.
Who said that? Like, or like the white cats, or like the Puerto Ricans that were saying?
I mean, because you know, hip hop is just a culture. Like graffiti, there were white people doing graffiti. There were white people at the parties. You get what I'm saying? So imagine them.
Because you know more than I do as far as this though. Like, who said the whole thing about Puerto Ricans being 50-50 creatively? Was that Fat Joe that said that?
No, I never heard that. I've only seen people quote that, but I've never heard him officially say it was 50-50. I think that was just, you know, something that ran away, that got taken out of context.
Is there anybody in the comments too? Like, if you could post it up, like if somebody actually uttered that, like, let me know. I've heard like that. Fat Joe may have said it. I heard KRS once say it, and neither I agree with neither one of them.
Peace.
Yo, peace, Mr. Danny Goss. How you doing?
I'm macking, man. Yo, peace, beloved. Peace from Texas, man. Peace to you too, bro.
What's up, bro?
To clear this up, man, to add a more understanding.
Where you from, Mr. Goss? I'm sorry. Before I didn't mean to cut your wisdom. Where you from? You Texas?
I'm from Hempstead, Long Island, my G.
Oh, that's what's
Pardon
up.
the body, man. Pardon the body. Yeah, I'm from Hempstead, Long Island, my G. I'm 1980 born. I got family in Brooklyn, Harlem, things of that nature, man. But
same
just
era,
to touch briefly, man. Me personally, I'm FBA. Both of my parents, they stem from the South. As far as a black and brown coalition, it's never really been that. But at the same perspective, man, I'm not going to sit up here and deny in front like Puerto Ricans haven't been in NY for a minute. You know what I mean? And as far as Dominicans and Salvadorians and all that's something you know as well as I know. That's something new. You know what I mean? But
hold on, Mr. Danny Goss, because you're from. I didn't mean to cut your wisdom. I just want to ask you, like, so you could explain, like, let the people know. Like, you remember when Salvadorians first started coming to LI, right?
Oh yeah, MS-13. For a fact.
Did Puerto Ricans, like, who were they building with more? Puerto Ricans, black cats of the island, or with the Salvadorian cats?
No, like Puerto Ricans for a fact, man, was communicating with black people, man.
You know what I'm saying? And it's the same thing with Dominicans too. Like, you know, when they when I remember, like, 80s baby myself, like when Puerto Rican, like Dominicans started pulling up into the scene, and I got mad love for my Dominican brothers too. but like black cats and Puerto Rican cats will like look at them as outsiders. You know what I'm saying? Like,
because the most part, man, you know, like foundational Black Americans and Puerto Ricans been in NYC for a long time. Even, you know what I'm saying, like around the time when the Irish and the Italians kind of, you know, came in, because, you know, Frankie Lyman even had a, you know, a Puerto Rican brother in his situation, you know what I mean, his singing group. But what I was saying, man, into regards with Tariq Nasheed, the problem is we've created a lot of music as far as stemming from country, from jazz to rock and roll, and it's been snatched from us. As far as Puerto Ricans' contributions to hip hop, I wasn't born in the, you know, the late 60s or the 70s. That's something I can't speak upon, but I know what the issue is that the way they're trying to make it seem as if it's not even a 50-50 thing. They're trying to make it seem as if Puerto Ricans and immigrant Caribbeans created hip hop, and they're trying to X us out of the situation. And what we're doing, we're coming back, pushing back from the grassroots, and we let it be known like, nah, that's not what it is. You know what I'm saying? That's not what it is.
And I respect that 100%. I
and
mean,
my issue.
Go ahead.
And I mean to cut your wisdom. I'm about to land my plane. My issue, just to keep it a buck, man. Like I said, as far as Puerto Ricans, man, and a lot of other Hispanics, some kind of racial tone, but at the end of the day, we know what it is with us. My issue, man, as a foundational Black American, I got a lot of problems. I'm not going to say problems, but I have a lot of issues with Caribbeans cosplaying as us. The whole Crippin' and Blood and stuff that hit NYC. Like I said, bro, like 90% of these dudes are Caribbeans, bro. They Caribbeans, bro. They Caribbeans, bro. And this is why, you know what I'm saying, as a whole, outside of New York City, man, people look at our state and laugh at us because these dudes is cosplaying is who we are, and it's not what it is. You know what I'm saying?
So you consider yourself like as far as the Caribbean Black dudes, like the Jamaican cats, like different than, I mean, like.
Oh yeah, they different. They different, man. Come on, Poppy, man. You from man?
No, there is a distinction, like, and they're also in the same lane, like Puerto Rican cats, where we like Jamaican cats have their own culture, which is not 100% like Yankee. It's like Yardie.
But see, Puerto Ricans don't have a history in this country trying to undermine anything we did, man. You know what I'm saying? From the 60s, from the 40s and all that, man. We wore dashikis, afros and all that, and we try to have this peace and love and kumbaya with a lot of these Black immigrants, man. And the real ones get sent back, and they got the coons coming out here, and they cosplaying as us, and they messing the game up. And this is exactly what you have. This is what you got running around, running amok. Like I said, you know what I mean? The Crips and Bloods in NYC, a majority of these dudes are Caribbeans, bro. They don't have no connection to this land.
From the beginning of the UK cats, Flatbush, a lot of them were Caribbean. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, bro.
The Crip, as far as the Crip, like Tip Top, all them dudes, like from BK, a lot of them were Caribbean. But one thing though, I do, Mr. Giles, is that I remember like the 90s where you would have a little bit of tension in between, like, or some tension. I'm not gonna say a little bit between like Jamaicans and like, let's say, like native Black New Yorkers per se.
And it's still that way today because they basically a lot of native Black New Yorkers, Black Americans, man, they come from two places. They either descend from the Shinnecock tribe that's in Long Island, who Old Dirty Bastard, the RZA and the Jizzle was from, that are Native American tribe, or they come from the South. They call us Yankees, all types of stuff. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of us kind of fell into that way of life. I'm not going to say fell into that way of life, but we fell into that school of thought, thinking that that's what it is. And now our Black American brothers from across the state is stepping up and they waking people up. Like, nah, bro, you this, you that. I can walk through Mississippi right now as a New Yorker, and I can still smell and feel my ancestors down there. You know what I mean? Like, I could tighten up. I can know, like, damn, man, this is where Emmett Till died. But damn, man, you know, this is where they actually had, you know, white and colored water fountains. Like, it's real here. A Jamaican and Haitian walking down there, man, they wouldn't feel that energy because they not me. You understand what I'm saying? It's a total disconnect.
But but like, as far as what I illustrated earlier between like the separation between like per se like Jamaicans or West Indians and Black cats, right. I actually seen that in a sense die down probably since like the post 90s. Are they different? Like, do all Black Jamaican cats be like, nah, I'm Black? Like, no, like, I mean, they still rep their culture, but I haven't really seen them like banging on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, or like, like we ain't fucking with these Black Americans lately. Like less, if I've seen it, I've seen it less and less since the 90s. You know what I'm saying? Like personally.
And they haven't been banging like that, man, because to be honest, and for my brother in Texas, they might not know, you know what I'm saying? A lot of Black Americans and a lot of these immigrants, they fuse together. They got kids and all that other stuff. You see what I'm saying? So this is why when a lot of our brothers from the South and, you know, the Midwest and the West are speaking up about these things, and a lot of Black Americans in New York ain't really saying anything, this is what the issue is too. A lot of them kind of, they got kids and, you know, family members and this and that, and they created almost like something other than what they were in here and where we reside in New York. You know what I mean? So it's just, it's wild, man. It's wild.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't like where it plays out on some beef shit in a sense. You know what I'm saying? Like the or not on some beef shit, as in like because there's a lot, like, to me, a lot of times, like, I don't know when you found out about hip hop, Mr. Gauss. Like, you're a little bit older than me, but not that much older. But the first song I heard was Big Mouth by Fat Boys. And You Talk Too Much, I think, by Run DMC. That was probably like 87, 86. But right. I remember, like, I don't remember, like, if, like, when I remember hip hop kind of like getting commercial was probably like Milk D, Top Billin',
yes,
and Run DMC, like later Run DMC shit, like where I started seeing it outside of New York, as in like started seeing it in Jersey City, New Jersey, which is right outside New York.
Yes, correct.
But I just take a little bit of an issue in which, like, dudes that aren't like from New York kind of like downplay like the fact that we were around since the beginning. Like, we weren't creators of it, no, but I mean, like, no matter what, like, I mean, like, Puerto Rican culture and Black culture, whether there are rivalries at times or not, and rivalries always happen in jail. Like, I mean, like, in jail, like, everybody goes, like, for the most part, with their race outside of Rikers Island, like,
correct.
But by and large, like in jail, like everywhere in America, everybody kind of like goes with their race.
Well, the problem is, bro, and it's like I said, man, I'm gonna be just totally honest, man. What the beef and the dispute about is, it's not so much of saying 50-50. White media is pushing Fat Joe as if he's the face of hip hop, and that's the issue that people have. It's like, okay, you're Xing us out, even with, you know, Africa Bambooty and, you know, Cool Herc. These are other, you know, immigrants, Jamaican, and I think Trinidadian or something, but you're not giving us props. So it's like, from the grassroots, we got to come and we got to take it by force. We got to get on our Black Panther BLA shit. You know what I'm saying?
I disagree.
Coming, you know what I mean?
I think we got PTSD because we seen what happened with rock and roll. We seen what happened with country music.
Yeah,
we seen what happened. We seen what happened with these genres that we started, and people come in and push us out. Like, for instance, right now, if I say, if you think of reggaeton, do you think of anything Black?
Nah.
If a Black person came out and said, you know, we was there when they started reggaeton, like, would it start this much like controversy? Like, people don't that's not some synonymous with being Black. So why is it when we say, hey, this is ours, everybody's up in arms? This is the craziest shit in the world.
No, yeah, I definitely bear witness to that, bro. I definitely bear witness to that. I'm just saying, man, that white media is trying to push Fat Joe as if he's the face of it, and that's just not what it is. It's like, we shouldn't be sharing anything with nobody because nobody's gonna share what they created. You know what I'm saying? But I feel exactly what you're saying, though, bro, from Texas. I definitely do.
But Fat Joe, like, I mean, like, and I'll put this out there right now, like, Fat Joe is a regular ass rapper. The dude don't got skills like that. Not even I compared him to T.I., who I consider a regular ass 5 out of 10 rapper as well. You know, Fat Joe doesn't represent all Puerto Rocks. But regarding the reggaeton thing, Black culture influenced reggaeton. The first beat that reggaeton had was Dembow. Like that, that's why all that shit sounds the same. That boom, 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 which came from a Jamaican, like a reggae record, you know. But and like the beat of reggaeton, they actually call the beat like Dembow. Like, they still name it after that original record. But if like have I heard other people lay claim like to reggaeton? I mean, like, nah, I'm not gonna front, you know. But like, and another thing too regarding the Fat Joe being the face of hip hop, if they're trying to push that, I mean, it would be equivalent to fucking pumping any like Little Dicky or some shit as the face of hip hop, or I don't know. I do see that they are trying to make a play in that sense. I'm not gonna front. Like, as far as having Fat Joe come out for the Yankee game, I mean, yeah, he's from the Bronx and whatnot, but it was like a national moment. I mean, maybe they try to get Jay-Z to sing that shitty ass New York song for that Yankee game, if you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But I like, if anybody, I mean, like, for anybody to debate like where any other group outside of Black Americans had even a 20% or like combined influence, I mean, would be a ridiculous notion, you know.
Right.
Mr. JJ, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut. Like, I know you were waiting to talk before.
He said, "Fuck that, I'm out of here."
Yeah, he did though.
Yo, picture this. Picture this.
On. We got Era Black. My apologies. I saw you were waiting as well. Peace, Mr. Era Black TV.
Peace. What's going on?
Chilling, my brother. Thank you for coming through. Where are you from?
I'm from New York.
Excellent. What part?
Mount Vernon, New York.
Oh, that's what's up. Peace. Let us know what you put it down. Let us know what you feel.
Oh, about the Fat Joe thing. Well, you know, I think Fat Joe is the first like Puerto Rican well-known rapper. I think he represents for the Puerto Rican culture. I think he switches throughout his career. He gets with whatever's popular, whatever's down. You know, I think he's always been a businessman, always trying to get ahead in the game of hip hop. So I've always noticed that about him. As far as loving the culture and all that, like his favorite hip hop artists are like KRS-One and these type of people. So it's like, you know, but undercover, what you find out about a lot of people is they have like a contempt for Black people or a hate for them, or don't want to see them have or get anything. But these people will chill with you, talk to you when it's convenient, and, you know, they will like play different sides. So, you know, as far as the whole hip hop thing, I mean, we all know African Americans created it or innovated it, pioneered it, however you know want to say it, and we have the largest part in it. And it's also our only culture. We don't speak any other languages. We don't diss anybody else's cultures or do racism on anybody else. It's our only culture that we, you know, connect to. So it would, you know, hit our heart the hardest, you know, being here in America the longest. And something that we created and something that we, you know, primarily the only thing we cling to. So, you know, I just represent hip hop. I represent a foundational Black American or an ADLS or an African American, and I'm not mixed with anything. I'm pure. And so are all my people and grandparents on both sides. So I think I represent, you know, a realer take on hip hop, where it's been, how it's been produced, where it's gone, and that I think it brings more Black people together to see how so many people can hate on us and have all this contempt for us. And so I think it does a thing like, you know, just like Jim Crow and civil rights and stuff, like it brings us together. You know, anytime we're faced with adversity, we come together. And so I like that, even though it's a bad thing that he says these things and these conversations and stuff, but it's also a good thing because it'll bring more Black people together and tighter. It's not to diss anybody else. To be pro me is not anti you.
Never that. No, and that's one thing. Listen, I'm Puerto Rican through and through. I want my Black brothers to build together more than anything else. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think Black brothers should be building far more than what they do now. Even if they exclude other people, that's fine so long as they're building. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's not something that we don't do enough, you know, from my observations. I mean, because people try to front like, oh, nah, you can't speak on Black shit. I mean, if I'm right, if I'm wrong, you know, anybody stop me. Like, but like, I like my whole thing Mr. Error Black and Mr. Polymath, Danny Giles. Again, thank you guys for showing up too. I just don't like at times like they frame things in which like you can't speak on this shit because like you a Rican cat. Like yo, like Ricans if in terms of hip hop shit have been around since day one. You know what I'm saying? Like but secondly, I mean, I think any conversation should be had. Like I mean, in 2024, going into 2025, people should be saying more shit rather than less shit. That's where you know people stand the shit. I mean, if Fat Joe felt the way about black people in the past, and maybe this is his like racism coming out, I'd rather him put that shit out in the air, like thinking it's all good. You know what I'm saying? Rather than we just can't speak on these issues based on race and whatnot, especially as a New Yorker. That's what I feel like. That's my bone of contention, if you will.
Right. I feel you. I hear you now, and I appreciate that. I mean, people that I talk to say they already know this about Fat Joe from the Bronx. You know what I'm saying? People that grow up with him and stuff like that. Cuban Links talks about him and things like that. So they know this stuff about him. But more importantly, with him, he uses the rap culture. He get rich or get powerful in it, and then you think you can talk down or take away. You know what I'm saying? Or it's not gonna fly, and people are gonna take offense. And so. I appreciate you wanting to see black people build and anybody build. And as far as your point of talking about it, this is America and this is freedom. We want everybody to talk about any and everything. There's no black, and especially from black people specifically, we don't practice any racism or we don't go into anybody other culture and tell them what to do or even try to culture appropriate into anybody else's culture.
Brother, I disagree with what you just said. Two different things. You said we want to be inviting to everybody because we don't go into everybody's and talk about them. So why the fuck we accepting everybody to the table to talk about us? That's why we having this problem.
No. We want people to say what's on their minds. We want people to say, we don't want people to feel like they're silenced or something like that, because we want to speak and say what's on our mind.
Well, let me ask you this, brother. If you say something right now and they got them letters in there, you know what letters I'm talking about from them alphabet people. What happens to the channel? Shut down. The reason why we don't have respect is because of that attitude of inviting everybody into our conversations, because they become the voice. They become the leaders, the authorities, like Fat Joe.
I hear you.
Yeah, but Fat Joe ain't no leader of hip hop.
I want them to put what they have in their minds out in the open so we can know and see who they are.
Word up.
I think we already know. We got history books, brother. They ain't gotta speak. We already know.
No, in a sense, Mr. Polymath.
I know a lot of things, but to the masses, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and in a sense, Mr. Polymath, I think like sometimes like with instances like this, and like, all right, we should like where it becomes sensorial, as in like, all right, people just shouldn't say certain things or speak on certain things. It sort of frames things. I mean, like it makes it to where like people that aren't really involved, i.e. internet herbs, like could speak on like things. Like this dude ain't no street dude. Like speak on street shit, speak on early hip hop shit. When a lot of these dudes are finding out a lot of stuff like via the internet, like as far as like the hip hop history specifically, like I've talked to people that were around from Jump Street and not from Brooklyn either. You know what I'm saying? Like but and in addition to from Brooklyn, rocking was my neighborhood, Sunset Park, Brooklyn. One of the first rocking or up rock groups was actually from my hood in Brooklyn. I'm not saying that they created b-boy and none of that, but like as far as like early 70s history, but what I don't like is that on the internet nowadays it seems like if so long as you're like making it seem like, all right, like this person is saying something tinged on racism, I have more an opinion on that just based on like race. When a lot of times like it's just like I don't like if in real life, like in New York City, like if a herb were to speak out of turn in general, somebody would hard check them. You know what I'm saying? Like but like on the internet, it's allowed for like yo, these like where like in the course of like this discussion, not like amongst y'all, but like amongst the internet, like even like here, like it's like all these like I have dudes like, oh, like this dude is trying to tether a term that came out this week, you know what I'm saying, in reference to me. like if somebody were to call me a tether in New York City or some shit like that, like I mean, like, you know, I'd be in their grillery duff, you know what I'm saying? But like on the internet, it seems like you have like people that are looking for something like to be offended about, setting the trends as to how we should discuss these things. Mr. Jamal Milton, though, like before you guys respond, if you guys want to respond real quick, and then I want to let Mr. Jamal Milton, who just came through with the ill background, I want to let him speak as well.
Yeah, I
I
just
mean,
want to.
I'll just go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
Oh, real quick. Yeah, we don't even use words like tether and stuff. And my major point I want to make is you get a lot of fakes and a lot of fake people online, a lot of trolls and all this type of different stuff. So what I'm saying is when you get the real in front of you and you get like something pure and something original and something real and something that has an experience, you know what I'm saying? I dictate what's who and who's what. And that's the hard check. You know what I'm saying? But if you get a lot of fake people around, then it ain't going to happen. But I'm a real one. Go ahead, bro.
It's just right to add, and the brother from Mount Vernon, man, peace to you.
Peace,
I'm
bro.
from Long Island, G's. So we both, you and I both know New York City's like its own bubble. You know what I mean?
Right.
And a lot of this mix-up is, man, I don't think a lot of brothers in NYC truly understand what's going on outside of NYC. You know what I mean? So a lot of that be mixed up. So like when Fat Joe was saying that dumb stuff on Mav Hoffa, yeah, that was offensive, definitely. But to somebody from like, I don't know, Waterloo, Iowa, where it's just like a straight up and black thing, they don't understand that. They don't know that they not supposed to understand that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So a lot of that stuff too is that's also what you catch spilling out there too. That's all, man.
No doubt. Lord, that's up to us. We'll deal with him. You know what I'm saying? We clean house from inside. You know what I'm saying? If he's black or whatever, we'll deal with him. We hand out the cards and we take them away. But you can't get that from a non-original or something fake, something mixed, something halfway.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
Right. And then people got to keep in mind too, you know, the platform he was on with Mav Hoffa. Like I said, man, brothers are immigrants, bro.
Matt
They not
what?
doing
He's
not. You know what I mean?
Mr. God?
Yeah, you don't. You know what I'm saying? You don't. And this the point that I was saying, and I'm gonna be quiet so my man my man that just came on, he could speak. And that's what I was saying, brother from Mount Vernon, man. Like me and you right now could walk around in Alabama and we can feel that connection. You know what I'm saying? We can be in Mississippi and still feel that connection. Mav Hoffa, they couldn't feel it. It wouldn't be nothing to them. I had Jamaicans telling me, oh man, if I went to VA and you know the Klan ran up on me, man, oh, I'm Jamaican. You know what I'm saying? As if that's gonna
do something. Say,
you know what I'm saying?
Right. But they don't know. They behind in time. Like
exactly,
you get all these and all these people in the conversation, they behind like you Johnny come, you knew. Like, you know what I'm saying? This is something for us to handle, something for my generation X and on. Like we the OGs now. We'll let you know what's what, and we were there. It's not gonna be a story, not gonna be something you can find in a book. Talk to me.
Facts.
Yeah,
bro.
Mr. Jamal Milton. Thank you for coming through. I know you've been waiting in the cut. You have anything you want to add? I like your background too, my brother.
Peace. I appreciate you. Shout out to everybody in the feed, everybody in the chat, everybody.
Peace, Lord.
And where you from, Mr. Milton? Before you continue.
Long Island.
That's what's up. A lot of Long Island.
Peace.
Born and raised. You know what I mean?
What part of Long Island you from? My people's are in Hempstead and Little
that's my area.
Town. They call it Money Town.
That's my area. So I was born and raised in the town of Hempstead. I lived in Freeport, Roosevelt. That's my stomping ground.
Copy. Okay. Parkside, man.
Facts. All that Parkside. Shout out to everybody. Rock Marciano, that's the homie. I'm a hip hop artist. I worked very, very closely with Lord Jamar. If you Google my name and Lord Jamar, you'll see some of the records that we've done. The recent Lord Jamar. There's nobody who talks to him more than I do on the telephone regularly every single day. So a lot of these conversations that you're seeing about this FBA and what's going on with Fat Joe was from direct conversations me and the bro have offline. Lord Jamar is a super conscious individual. Like we while people trade memes, we trade books, you know what I'm saying? And we go back and forth on that. And we build on this, how we can help the Black community on a regular basis. So this situation just started off with, you know, clowning with Fat Joe and his boots and stuff like that, which everybody was doing because he was wearing some flagrant boots and an outfit. That's really how this all started. If people don't know how it started just from that.
When he was rocking them UGG type shits?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
This
okay,
was
okay.
years ago, you know. And Lord Jamar clowned on it and then just left it alone. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't nothing crazy. But he took offense to Lord Jamar and then started going in for whatever reason on specifically Lord Jamar, because Lord Jamar is a threat when it comes to hip hop community. When you're talking authenticity versus like hip hop versus rap, an MC versus a rapper, there's a difference. You know, Fat Joe don't write his lyrics. He's not a true MC. You know, he's been putting on for a long time, but he's not a true MC. So people who are going to be a threat, especially when they're speaking negatively about him. He knows that if there's anybody that can sprinkle any type of negativity on what he's done, it's going to be that. It's going to be those individuals, the ones that are authentic to the game, authentic to hip hop. It's not about.
So, Mr. Milton, from that point with the boot incident, did it kept riveting up, like as far as tensions between the two, like whether outright or like in the cut?
No, it was pretty much the way we all saw it. You know what I'm saying? Like, they did.
Well, hold on. Could you run down a little bit of what you know? Because I'm not up on it like that.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
okay, so Fat Joe posted a picture of him wearing this outfit with a pink hoodie and these weird ass boots that nobody would wear. I was on our feed yesterday with a bunch of Puerto Ricans, and they were saying like, "Yo, we would never rock that." Like, we were telling him to go back in the house. He not rocking with us tonight, but he was wearing it, and everybody started clowning him on the internet. It was one of those things that everybody, you know, when somebody goes past that point where it's out of your hands, everybody's clowning on it. Lord Jamar wasn't the one who revealed it or anything like that. He simply was laughing like everybody else. You know, even 50 was laughing. You know, and that's why it's so disingenuous, because it's like 50 was joking on you too. Why you ain't come at fifth? Why you can't?
I feel you.
Lord Jamar, like, you look crazy. And you're talking about, okay, well, these guys are broke. Well, 50's rich. Why you ain't come at him? You see what I'm saying? So like everybody was on it. So Lord Jamar even stepped back from it and apologized to him. All right, cool. You know, I'm a chill. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna let you rock out. He didn't say nothing else of it. But then later on, boom, out of the blue, now here pops this where he mentions Lord Jamar and specifically FBA. Now, we all belong to a community. People don't know this, but there's a conscious community, a pure, authentic conscious community, unlike what you're seeing on television. Like when you see the Tariq Nasheeds and all that stuff, not to say that these guys aren't authentic in what they do. There is a more in-depth community of people who sit around and do peer reviews, and we are real scholars. Okay, I'm a Kemetic priest from the Shrine of Ma'at in Harlem. Okay, we rub elbows with the head leaders of the Hebrew Israelite community, the Nation of Islam, the atheists, the whole 9 yards. Our thing is about knowledge, wisdom, understanding. 5%ers, Nuwapians. We all come together and we have these discussions about how we can forward the Black community. Okay, Lord Jamar belongs to that community. Okay?
Who like Lord Jamar is part of that conglomerate, or he's part of like? Is he a 5%er?
He regularly interacts with that community. I met Lord Jamar within that community. They booked me for a show and booked him for the show. We were headliners at the show.
I understand.
That's how we met, because I'm a hip hop artist, but I'm a conscious hip hop artist. I only deal with conscious type stuff. You know what I'm saying? So Lord Jamar was booked for the same event that I was booked at. That's how we met. Chase, chill out. So when you see individuals like Fat Joe talking on these talking points about FBA, he didn't even know what FBA was. He called it Foundational Black Authority. That's not what it's called. Okay, it's Foundational Black Americans, and it's not an organization. It's literally just your lineage or where you come from. If you were one of the Black people, if your Black ancestry goes back prior to building of the United States, then you would be a foundational Black American. You don't have to claim it to be it. It's just what you are. You know what I'm saying? So this incident started all from that. And we were sitting back trying to figure out why he's talking about Lord Jamar. You know, we couldn't figure it out. And then when he scooped in FBA with it, then we knew that there was a bigger issue at play, because he doesn't know those individuals within the FBA. He doesn't.
That makes sense, though.
Yeah, he doesn't know any of these guys. He's just guessing and assuming. He has another agenda that was at hand, and he's just trying to throw things in the mix that he thinks is going to hurt Lord Jamar somehow, and it ended up backfiring on him. You understand? So with that being said, you know, this whole situation is about ego on his part and him feeling some type of way because people were talking about his outfit. You know what I'm saying? Fat Joe's not the best rapper in the world. He don't even rap. People write his raps. So all he has going for him was his money, how he dressed. You know what I'm saying? You only got certain things you could gravitate towards in hip hop that people say you belong here. right? You're either a break dancer, a DJ. What do you do? You know what I'm saying? Because that fashion wasn't it. That came later. You know what I'm saying? So what is it that you bring to the game? You know, but in any case, that's how we ended up in this situation. And even more so in the Black community, when we have individuals like that say these type of things and they're claiming to be Black, people who are authentically Black is supposed to check you if you out of order. We check our own, we check everybody. We check Black people, white, it don't matter. That's the thing about Black people. That's the difference between everybody else. We will definitely check our own. Okay. They'll call it Black on Black crime. They'll call it whatever they want. But no, this is just checking family. You don't allow people to just do something crazy and look crazy out here in the streets and they represent you as a people. You know, Fat Joe tried to act like he can speak on behalf of Black people and who we should follow, right? As far as foundational Black Americans, he went ahead and offered his information as to who we allowed to follow and who we not allowed to follow. And he's not in that position to do that. He's not in that position to take anybody's legendary hip hop status away because he don't even write his own raps as far as a rapper. You're not a legend, bro. You're not in anybody's top 50. Nobody. You know what I'm saying? So let's be clear. You know, there's levels to this. We give people a rope. Sometimes they feel they want to be a cowboy, and then you got to check them. And that's
Fat Joe's basically like a Puerto Rican Snoop, but like with way lesser credentials, body of work.
Facts. That's exactly what it is. You know what I'm saying? And you should just stay in your pocket. That's all that it was. You know what I'm saying? But he went left and he continued on because he thought that his money was what was going to win him over. And you have to understand, you know, we come from poverty. Black people come from poverty. Brown people come from poverty. All you're doing is spit in the faces of your own people. Because, yeah, Black Africans was broke during that time. But guess what? Spanish people was even broker during that time. That's a fact. Okay, we had been here for some amount of time and established something here in the Americas. Spanish people was even broken than us. Okay, but then they leveled up because some of them went to the Caucasian side. Some of them signed off to be Caucasian. That would be Fat Joe. He went to the Caucasian side. Okay, he was utilizing Black culture to elevate.
Caucasian in what sense, though? As far as like with the powers that be in like the executive world, or as far as like him trying to rep, you know, like Puerto Rican to the point that we're not Black, like Caucasian.
Well, so there's even as Puerto Ricans, you know that there are levels to that, right? Like if you have Dominicans, there are levels. There are Dominicans that act purely like Dominicans, and there are Dominicans that act white. Right? They don't act, they co-sign to the white culture more than they co-sign to their own culture. Okay.
That's in every culture though, in a sense. But like explain it more though, if you could.
Okay, so the same thing with there are certain Black people who act 100% Black, and you'd be like, yo, he Black, but he don't really act like us. He act like he a white boy, like he was born with a silver spoon. You know what I'm saying? Like it's levels like to that in every single culture. That people assimilate to what they feel is a better or a stronger arm. And he has always shown those flags of doing that, of crossing over and then forgetting about really what happened. You know what I'm saying? So Fat Joe, when he said what he said, he pretty much just exposed himself. Nobody did it to him. He did it to himself. And now we're all responding to it like, but wait a minute. How you talking about him? He's legendary. You don't even write your own raps. How you talking about him? He's the wackest one in the group. How? You were the wackest one in DITC. You were literally the wackest one in Terror Squad, the wackest MC. So how do you now say somebody else is? See, it makes you turn the tables and look at you now. You know, when you do those things. So, and just to say this, to premise this about Black people, about letting people into the culture, we let people into the culture since day one. We were doing that in Africa. That's how Egypt got conquered. We allow people to come in, boom, boom, boom. Why? Because everybody here, every race here, every nation here are children of African people. Everybody. So we don't look at people like they're enemies. We look at them as they are children. We were the first human beings here. That is a historical fact. That's not my opinion. So we look at everybody else as if they're our children. So we don't see like the way other people look at us. We don't see them as threats. We're like, nah, we let them rock out. We expect white people to do white people shit. We expect Black people to do Black people shit. We expect Spanish people to do Spanish people shit. We don't try and interfere in the endeavors of those. Why? Because all of that came at some point from us at some point. When you reverse engineer it all the way back, everything from the drums to the music to the style, even Latin music, it all at some point segues back to ancient African culture. So we're not crazy on pushing people out. That's why hip hop blew up the way that it was. It's like, no, everybody come to the party. Everybody come on in. Just understand this is a Black party, though. We the ones who started the party, but we let everybody in. That is a fact. You know what I'm saying? It would not have gotten where it had gotten if we did not let everybody in. So where it started and who created it is a different story. That's what he's trying to take away. We're not trying to take away that Puerto Ricans were there the whole time and jumping into the party and breakdancing and participating. Absolutely, they were.
I got to disagree with you for a second. As far as I think the hip hop culture would have been far better off had they not let anybody in.
Yes.
Personally, I mean, like, and I'm not saying that like trying to throw roses at like towards the black community. Nah, like if it would have been more like coming up, I remember there being standards like, yo, if you bite one time, like you a whack rapper, like, you know what I'm saying? Then all of a sudden, like when shit started and that's like a standard, like in the hood, like if you snitch, like I mean, we just can't fuck with you. If you a biter, like I bought this hat because I saw this other dude wear it. Like, nah, you a biter, bro. Like you can't, like, that shit don't rock. Like and that was a standard that we got from hip hop, and that was a standard that in New York was probably cemented by black cats. Yeah, should we have kept that standard, I think we would have been far better off.
I agree with that. I agree with that. What I'm saying is what happened, the historical record.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
Definitely.
We let the people in and we set the groundwork and the framework for what it was for you to be accepted into the party. We are the ones who set the trend for what you should wear and how you should dance and what you should rap about. If that's the case, you can reverse engineer it and show me all the Puerto Rican records. Show me all the Puerto Rican records that's solely Puerto Rican that was in hip hop that had no African influence. You can't find it. It don't exist because the African influence was the basis. It was the blueprint. So when he tried to take that away, that's when it's like, okay, now you're doing too much. Now we got to check you. And then when you're going to try to double down on it by finding other black folks, the guys that were letting you into the parties, right, to try and co-sign your lies, now we have to expose them too. You see, because there was an industry level and then there was a grassroots level. Like when people come to New York, they go to New York City, they go to Times Square, they be like, oh yeah, I've been through New York, right? But a dude from Brooklyn is like, nah, you ain't never been to New York. You was in Times Square, bro. You ain't never been to New York. You ain't come down to the lower, you didn't come down to the lower side. You didn't come down to Queens. You ain't really seen New York. You was in the touristy area. That's what Fat Joe represents at this point in his point in his career. So he thought that those accolades is what makes decisions in hip hop, and it does not. That's not what gives you your power, your love, and your respect in hip hop. At the end of the day, it started somewhere, and it always will be that. It always will be that at its core, no matter what's going on television, no matter what you see is being blasted on the radio 10 times a day. There's a core element of hip hop that we all know that sound, we all know that feel, we all know that culture. And that's where he went left.
Yeah, and I want to ask the panel all together. How long have you guys have heard, not like something else that could be a placeholder for the terminology specifically, but when did y'all first start hearing of FBA? Like I first started hearing of FBA maybe 1 or 2 years ago, but like not a placeholder for FBA, not ADOS, not anything else, like FBA specifically. And I'm not like trying to like do a gotcha moment or tie this into Tariq Nasheed. I don't think like Tariq Nasheed is building like you brothers are building. But
well, my own partner body, man. From my understanding,
ahead.
that terminology came from Tariq Nasheed. But like I said, it wasn't. From my understanding, that label actually came from Tariq Nasheed. But like the brother was saying, it's not a group or anything like that. It's just lineage based. Like it's what it is.
He coined it. He didn't create it, but he coined it. Yeah. So he trademarked it, did all the websites behind it, but he's not the one who invented it. There was people.
Was that Dr. Claude Anderson?
What's that?
Was that Dr. Claude Anderson?
People are giving him credit to it, but I'm going to say it existed even before that, but just by different names. Like this, I was in the concert community heavy, and I never heard that term being used. I've heard, right. I've heard I'm indigenous. I've heard I'm Ados. I'm Aboriginal. I've heard all these different terms, but FBA, that's new. It sounds like an organization.
So should American Black brothers like refer to themselves as FBA, like as far as a standard?
It's levels to that.
Moving on, you know what I'm saying? Like
we need a whole nother show to talk about that, because even there are some people that look like me that don't call themselves black. Why? They're Moors. There's levels to blackness. We have diversity. So to just group everybody into blackness, that's what the white men did. They said everybody's just black. No, I have a tribe. I come from Aswan. Like, calling me black is an insult. I know who I am. I know exactly who I know my tribe. I know my lineage. I know exactly where we come from. If you don't know, you have to be black because you don't know which land you come from. There's no such thing as black land if you get deep into it, right?
No, and I take issue. Like, I take issue with the fact that, like, it's almost like whether these things happen organically or not. Like, and again, I could, like, I'm not part of the black community, so on, quote unquote, but I could speak on things that I think aren't productive. Yeah. But I don't like the fact that they try to, like, make it like to where, all right, this is like the new terminology that we're running with now. Like, this is the new terminology. And it seems like, because I remember ADOS being like something that people were rocking during the COVID era. And now it seems like that has gone like the way of the birds, and like where people are rocking like more FBA now.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I want to talk on that. I want to talk on that.
Go ahead, Mr.
Yeah, I
Eric
want to talk.
And Danny Giles, you go next as well.
Right. So this whole FBA thing is new to me as well. I'm from the era of, Jesse Jackson and all of that, and getting coined Afro-American, African-American, and those times when it was popular then, in the 80s and stuff like that. Now is this new term coming about, and it's not really clear. ADOS has come about, FBA, and I want to clean house. I'm like, who is who and what's what? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I'm black and I don't even understand what's going on. Like, so it's like, I want to get to, my thing with the FBA thing. I think everybody associates that with Tariq Nasheed. Right now, back in the days, Al Sharpton, Reverend Jackson, and all of them were considered black leaders after Martin and, and Malcolm. You know what I'm saying? So the black community goes by a leadership kind of thing too. So now today's leaders seem to be like Umar and Tariq and guys like that, and they done put out the most pro-black stuff. Tariq with the DVD series and Hidden Colors and all these things. So he's really speaking on black issues, and which makes him seem like a black leader. But I don't consider him a black leader or anything at all. I think he hustles the black culture and black things just like any and everybody. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of things to talk about and clean house with, which I could understand other people being confused, because I'm black and I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Wait, what's really going on? So yeah, it's something to really talk about, and the black community, black diaspora has to figure that out, because they're claiming any and everything. You know what I mean? So, but my major point was to the other brother, what do white people call you? When they see you, what do they call you? Are they going to call, you know what I'm saying? They're going to identify you as black. So we're all, in the white world, you're either white or not, or you're black. You know what I'm saying? And so that's a technical term that we deal with in white America, and what we know as if you have melanin, if you have a hue to you, anything like that, you're going to be considered black in a way, even though you may ethnic wise or culture wise be Spanish or Puerto Rican or this or that, whatever, but it all stems back to Africa, all stems back to black. So it's either black or white in our world. So that's the fight that, or the you know what I'm saying, that we've kind of been under. So I'm still trying to figure out this FBA thing too, and I want the brothers to get together and really hash that out.
Mr. Giles, I mean, you wanted to say something as well, and then Patrick Young, who just pulled up, you could pull it after the fact. Anybody who wants to pull up to the channel, if just ask for the link, I'll put it's on the earlier comment. But also just show video just in case, because I actually had some clowning really long ago past live pull out like in his underwear after the fact, like like trying to kibosh the stream. But I'm glad you guys are we're all building and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? And if you got to air out Porter Rocks within this discussion, I mean, like, I'm here for it too. You know what I'm saying? Like, we would rank on each other as youngsters in New York based on race, based on the way our parents looked, based on abnormalities that you were born with. So anything's game, as long as we don't censor ourselves, anything could be discussed. But Mr. Danny Giles, I know you wanted to say something, and then Patrick Young, the floor is yours.
First and foremost, man, it's been a wonderful build. And secondly, I'm getting ready to hop off because I got to get my exercise in. And thirdly, I myself identify as a foundational Black American. It's not a group as far as what I'm into. It's just basically my lineage. I'm acknowledging where I come from, where my peoples come from, etc., etc. But to the panel, peace and love, and I hope we got some type of understanding.
Thank you. And honestly, anybody that's pulling up in the chat, and especially these brothers in the channel, I want to thank you guys so much, because I like to have these be a discussion rather than like me bloviating or where we can't like talk about certain issues. Talk about whatever the hell you want, air out whoever you want. Like 2025 is upon us, you know what I'm saying? Like, and people should put their things on their chest rather than behind closed doors, you know what I'm saying? Like, so thank you, brothers, on the chat for pulling up. My brother Patrick Young, the floor is yours. Thank you for pulling up, sir. Could you tell us where you're from as well? Mr. Young, I can't hear you if you're trying to speak. Actually, I think I put you on mute, my brother. I'm sorry. Mr. Young, thank you for pulling up. Can you tell us where you're from?
Peace from Georgia.
Peace, sir. The floor is yours, and thank you for pulling up again.
Yeah, I've been studying and things like that for a long time. Part of the conscious scene, and I can give you some insight as a follower, someone who's been following Tariq Nasheed, Umar, and several others for quite some time. I can give you some insight as to when the FBA thing came about and what it inspired it. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The floor is yours.
Okay. So
go ahead. The floor is yours.
So Dr. Claude Anderson, if you ever heard him speak, he uses, when he refers to us, he uses the term native blacks, and that native blacks he uses to differentiate those who are descendants of slaves here in America. Okay, the ADOS thing. I don't know if you're familiar with a lot of the black conventions that they were doing around just before COVID hit, like 2018, 2019, around that time. So Tariq Nasheed, Yvette Carnell, all those people, they were on board and they were going to these conventions. And so what happened was that Miss Carnell, she was doing the ADOS convention, and she had always presented it as her and her business partner had come up with the name. Well, it was revealed that the name actually came from a professor, which they didn't give credit to. So the convention that they had pretty much flopped after it was revealed that they had taken the name from the brother and did not give the brother credit. So not long after that, Tariq Nasheed, inspired by Dr. Claude Anderson's term native black, but felt like something that needed to be something more specific, came up with foundational Black American. And what makes foundational Black Americans specific, the specific lineage is that you have to have been in America, your family had to have been in America at least before the 1870 census, which would have been the first census after slavery. So if you can tie at least one relative, one ancestor back to the 1870 census, then you are a foundational Black American. It's lineage based. It's to these things were also inspired by the reparations movement, because one of the things that had been getting the reparations movement, the pushback from Congress, the Senate, and this, that, and other, they would always use the excuse of our reparations movement being race-based. So what happened was they came up, several people made the attempt to come up with something that was lineage-based and not race-based, therefore not giving them the powers that be wiggle room to slow the movement, push the movement to the side, the momentum of the movement. Excuse me.
Yeah, he's 100% right. It mainly was wrapped around reparations. You got to identify yourself somehow, some way. So we had to figure out who's getting reparations and who's not. So they created,
Exactly.
you know what I mean?
I understand. And Mr. Young, there's a little bit of background music. A background noise. Just when you're not speaking, if you could put it on mute. Anybody else want to elaborate on what like terminology? Because again, I am really familiar with the conscious communities that are in New York City, as far as Nubians, Israelites, Moors. However, like as far as the internet post 2016, I'm not really up on it like that. Like I try, but so a lot of these terms, I'm not like, in a sense, they are brand new. Even though I've heard them, I just like to know like the like where things start and whatnot, and like whether like the black populace in mass is running with it as like a new standard. You know what I'm saying? Like if that's like what brothers are gonna start calling themselves, or like that's what I like. That's what I'm unsure of. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And this was done to make sure that people, the right people, could make the right claims and get the benefit. Because once you use a term like African American, the term that the brother was talking about earlier, was Jesse Jackson brought in 1988, and they added it to the census, I think, in 1990, for the first time in 1990. Then what you're doing is you're painting us with a very broad brush, and other people can come in. If you look technically, someone like Elon Musk, he's a white male, but he was born in Africa. He has citizenship here. He can technically claim that he's African American. You and I know that he's not, but he can make the claim. So basically, foundational Black Americans was created, inspired by, in the beginning, Dr. Claude Anderson's term Native Blacks, to denote us as a specific lineage in our reparations claim.
I understand. Did anybody want to add to that? My other brothers on the panel?
I don't know, man. You get a lot of these like educated type people, like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not with all this education type stuff. I don't watch my elders do all that education stuff and read books and all of that. And now you got younger, new people trying to come from the education. Oh, the history, go back and forth with history, and all this got us in this endless cycle. You know what I'm saying? And I think they're also adding a lot of confusion into you know what I mean, into something that we really got to iron out. You know what I mean? So I just get kind of irritated with all these, all these educational type takes to things. When I'm the real deal, I'm really here in front of you. I know hip hop. I know Fat Joe and these different people. I know Lord Jamar means more to our people, African American people in hip hop, than Fat Joe. Like, I know a lot of, you know what I'm saying, real things that are close to me. Whereas we get a lot of other blacks trying to figure something out. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to add that point in.
No, I get the point you're trying to illustrate as well, and that's why even though I could make a safe assumption as to what FBA was, I just wanted to make sure that I'm not getting the terminology wrong, because to me it's a little bit new school. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is too, and what you were saying, Era Black too, is my bone of contention is that, in spite of the fact, much love to all my black brothers, but that doesn't mean that that every black brother and every black sister is official, you know what I'm saying, or with it, so there's just certain people, at the end of the day, regardless of color, that I just ain't gonna build with, or that shouldn't be checking me, because at the end of the day, I look at everything I see on the internet as either a bot, or B, some dude that doesn't get no sunlight and is telling me some New Yorker who's out in the open, in the hood, whatnot, don't say this and don't say that. You know what I'm saying?
Hell no. Say whatever you want, bro. Speak your piece. Get it out there. We need, as men, we need to have more real conversations. We can iron a lot of things out, as you know what I'm saying, with the reality of where we're at in life and our conversations. And they're happening more and more with this whole Fat Joe and Busta Rhymes thing.
Word up, word up.
So
No, and as far like, but the one thing, and Jamal Milton, I don't know if you caught the first part of this, regarding the Caribbean brothers. Now, like personally, I, especially post 90s, I've seen like I'm not saying it's kumbaya like on some unity shit, like all right, we're gonna build with Haitians and Jamaicans along with the other Black New Yorkers as a force to be combined and like stand against everybody else. But like I haven't seen like beef outright amongst like Caribbean Black people who I consider like Trinidad, you know who I'm talking about, Trinidadian, Jamaican, Panamanian in many cases. Not all Trinidadian, there's Coolie type in Trinidadian, there's Hispanic type or more Hispanic prototypical type Panamanians that probably look like me. But there are Black brothers that are from Panamania. There are Black brothers from Jamaica, of course. Do you see that dissension as far as in New York more so, like
no,
between
there's
like
no
native?
Nah, there's no fighting, there's no dissension. I'm African American. We never fought with any other. You know, as kids, we're all gonna go through things. Nobody holds us to what we do as kids. But there's no tension, there's no fighting, there's no racial tension in the street or amongst the islands. Maybe they may have some things that only they could talk about. I'm speaking once again from a pure, not mixed with any islands, African American, and I have never seen any contentions with us and them.
Yeah, no, and even though, and I know Matt Hoffa is Trinidadian, and Mr. Jamal, you can speak on it too. Mr. Young, just mute your mic. Okay, when you're not speaking, I unmuted your mic now, Mr. Young, and you can speak next. But one thing that I was trying to make clear earlier, mute your own mic if you could, Mr. Patrick Young. Is that I see online just because of the fact, in a sense, that Matt Hoffa happens to be of Trinidadian ancestry, which I didn't even know. In that, all right, like now this debate, which was like in a sense against Fat Joe, and in part like Puerto Ricans as to what they contributed and didn't contribute, where now it's like now we beefing in a sense with these West Indian cats who, I mean, since the 90s, I couldn't disseminate Black communities very easily from the West Indian Black communities, like the FBA, like communities of New York City, from the Jamaican Black communities, especially the ones that have like that aren't like straight out of Jamaica, like on some yachty shit. Like I've seen like a lot of West Indian Black cats, like similar to like Matt Hoffa, like where it's like they're Black cats in my eyes, like in New York. You know what I'm saying? Like their experience looks exactly the same. Like
no, the experience is not the same. The experience is not
exactly the same. But like to me, I mean,
what went on in their households, what went on, what was taught in their households. Their parents and them hate Black Americans, and they talk shit against us. You know what I'm saying? Everybody culture appropriates. That's why we iron shit out to get the pure, to get away from all that mix. Or I don't know if I'm Black or I'm Black today, or I'm Black outside the house, but my other culture inside. You know what I'm saying? It's all of that mixing that has to go, because that's messing up you know what I'm saying? That's messing up me. You know what I'm saying? I'm not none of that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm a proud nigga, and I'm a proud African American. So the FBA thing is getting culturally appropriate. It's getting used. You know what I'm saying? That's why real Black men have to come to the table and talk about these things and really iron things out, because everybody's getting confused. As Jamaicans, Haitians, Trinidadians, all these islands, when it comes down to the end of the day, they're going to claim their culture. They're not going to say they're African American. They're not going to say they're me. They're going to be cool with me on the block and talk with me, but behind closed doors, and when they're up in money, they're gonna diss me. And we already know that. We see all the plays. We done seen all of this. Now it's time we step up and separate and really get some things straight.
Yeah, West Indian culture is one of those cultures. It's like a sister culture, but you know how brothers and sisters go back and forth and argue, right? It's still love there. It's always going to be love, but we have to distinguish that it's definitely two different cultures, and it's not the same. A lot of times they get grouped the same. But even them within their own islands, rep and they wave their individual flag. Trinidadians love Trinidadians and they rock for Trinidad. They don't rock for Jamaica, they rock for Trinidad. Jamaica rocks for Jamaica, right? So this is what it is. It's like, it's to have to be pro-black doesn't mean to be anti anything. You understand? To be pro your culture doesn't mean that you are anti anything that's not. And a lot of times we construe the lines, and this is kind of where Fat Joe was talking about, but he didn't say it the right way. He grouped everybody together versus realizing that some people do this and some people don't. Some people see it all as love, and then other people, it's like, nah, I'm Jamaican. I don't rock with Trinidad. You know what I mean? It's like that. You know what I mean? They almost treat it like a gang, like a cultural gang.
Have you guys seen that play out amongst like your peers?
Yeah, absolutely. Like growing up, that my first experience.
No, like nowadays, like as we've progressed in age, as far as like not Puerto Rican so much as like
it's indirectly now. When you're younger, it's more like kids, they don't care. You know what I'm saying? So they do wild crazy. But when you're older, it's more of an indirect way. They might not hang out at the parties that you hang with. They might not go to the hip hop concert, but they'll go to the Jamaican joint. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is, that's what they like to do. That's their culture. That's just them being proud of their culture. Now, you go up in there dressed like a hip hopper in a Jamaican party, you're gonna look weird. The same way, if you dress like a Jamaican and you walk up into a Afro black party, you're gonna look weird. You know what I'm saying? You might have your hair lime green or something. Spikes.
That's the extra Jamaican
that's pure Jamaican. You know?
I know that's the extra type dudes though. But if you were to walk in like in the late 90s with the Averex and whatnot, like they wouldn't like sniff you out like, yo, this cat's an American black dude.
Oh no, they're not doing that. No, it's not. Like I said, it's covert. It's not over. It's not going to be right in your face like that. They might just be on the other side of the party. They're not going to stand next to you and mingle the way, you know what I'm saying, it would have normally gone if they were really accepting of you. You can tell when somebody's rocking with you energy-wise versus when they're not. And that difference comes from culture. When you're having that conversation, that group conversation, and one person has that super heavy accent versus your accent, the conversation is not as fun than one when everybody understands each other. You know what I'm saying? Unless that person just has that type of aura where it's like, even though his accent is crazy, I rock with him. I rock with her. She's mad cool. And that's where the lines get crossed, right? And we blur the lines. But that's what America is. And that's what we have to understand about America. You can't do this anywhere else in the world. So you can't just be like, my culture is my culture and leave my culture alone. No, you're in America, bro. And we get to share and trade cultures all day long. You can say that now, but guess what? On St. Patrick's Day, you're going to put on green and act like you Irish. Huh? When that's what you're going to do. Like we say one thing, but we move a whole different way. In reality, sometimes we just choose and pick our battles of what we want to be angry about, but our lifestyle doesn't really reflect who we really are. The ones that really do that, they call them radicals. Simply because we love our culture, that makes us radicals. But anybody else is, I love the way you advertise your culture like that. You just love your culture. I love that about you. You know what I'm saying? Only black people get this. We're the only ones that get this when it's time to show pride in what we do. Just think about the conversations here in America when we talk about the pyramids. Who built the pyramids in the Mayan pyramids? The Mayans. Who built the Aztec pyramids? The Aztecs. Who built the ones over in Egypt? Not the Egyptians. It had to be aliens. You can't give credit to black people no matter what. It wasn't them. It was ancient aliens from outer space. You see what I'm saying? They will do it. They can't say it was Africans that were living in Africa. Egypt is in Africa. You see what I'm saying? Little things like that you will notice and you will see. They will not allow us to embrace our culture and love our culture. They call it radical. They literally have groups in the government that they call BY. They call us BIE, Black Identity Extremists. I know because I'm on the list. They shadow ban our networks, the whole 9 yards. They don't let our voices ring out. They try to hush us. So those elements exist.
No, are there machinations within this country for black communities not to build? Absolutely. I mean, I think they put trillions into the industry of having us running around looking dumb out here. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's their biggest point of emphasis in many instances. I draw it up as a bigger issue, like rather than like these smaller debates in a sense, But Mr. Patrick Young, if you wanted to add something, and then we're gonna let our brother How Music, who just pulled up, just unmute yourself, Mr. Patrick Young. if you wanted to add something.
Yeah, thanks. I want to say that I was born in 1970. To a I was grew up a military brat. My mother is the baby of 14 children, so I had something like 44 first cousins on my mom's side. Um, by the time my parents got together, a lot of my relatives had already moved north into New York, and then once they came up, they moved from New York to East Orange, New Jersey, into the suburb. But I can remember I spent some time in New York City waiting on my dad to get straight when he got transferred, stationed and I don't know if you ever heard of upstate New York, Plattsburgh, New York. My dad was in the Air Force.
Okay.
So, and I can remember a lot of things. Matter of fact, not only did I live with my family amongst Puerto Ricans in the 70s in New York, I also lived among Puerto Ricans in Florida, where we went to my dad's next duty station. And it was pretty much the same thing. They didn't mess with us like that. And I can remember with my own eyes, I can remember we used to have to go places with my cousins, and they would say, "Hey, we get here, we gotta run, because the Puerto Ricans will be after us. Or we get here, we gotta run for it, because such and such will be after us." And I can remember those swastikas on the jackets. So, hey, I know I'm not a New Yorker. I'm not a New York native, but I did spend some time there, and I remember that there was tension. Now, why a lot of people want to smooth over that?
Mr. Patrick Young, I'm sorry. Swastikas in the jackets of who? Like the outlaw gangs, like of New York?
I don't know what they. I just know that there were swastikas. The Puerto Ricans had jackets with swastikas on them, and I know that they used to chase us. And my older.
And I'm only going off my experience in New York City. I mean, and you're a little bit older than me. I'm not gonna front. But as far as outlaw, like as far as like swastikas, like on like that would be worn outwardly. The only example I've seen is like an outlaw culture in New York City, which are like gang culture of the 70s. But that was, I've seen black cats like in that culture, like outlaw culture. They don't do it no more. Like there was actually one of the outlaw gangs back in the day. It was the Chinglings, if I remember correctly, whose actual logo was a swastika. The Chinglings are black and Latin. I think they would do it more like to scare people. But I don't know, but if you could illustrate an example like of your personal like experience, you know what I'm saying? Like, but maybe that's the only reason that I would know of seeing anybody outwardly like that was a minority or Puerto Rican, if you want to put it like that, wearing that out in the public, because you get like trounced on like in like the hood in New York. You know what I'm saying? Like if it was on that type of time, like on some like NAVI, like banging on that, like
and I can remember my cousin used to call them the Nazis. See, I had cousins that they were almost grown. They were teenagers heading into adulthood. We were little, 6, 7 years old. And whenever we had to go somewhere, they would always have to lead us around.
I'm sorry you had to go through that too. I mean, like like as for, like and again, I'm ignorant like to a lot of the culture outside of New York City, because I'm Brooklyn through and through. I mean, like I have lived in Florida when I was getting in trouble in New York, but for a couple of months. Granted, it was in Orlando and that's Puerto Rican as shit. But outside of that, I don't like. Now go ahead, Mr.
Now in Florida, you didn't have the gang thing during that time, but you did have the tip. They didn't want you talking to the girls, and they really didn't want us because we'd be outside playing ball and stuff like that. And so that their parents really didn't want us messing with us like that. And they primarily spoke Spanish, and the music that they listened to was Spanish music.
I understand.
Also during that time, I can remember other islanders and stuff like this. And this, let me say this too. I don't have anything against any of them, but I can only tell you about what I saw. And as somebody that may be an outsider, I don't have anything. I'm married to a Jamaican, by the way. But I'm gonna tell the truth. Regardless whether I'm married, I'm not gonna lie. Just because I'm married to her. Now, her uncle is a reggae legend. They don't even really like hip hop like that. They really can't. My wife can't stand hip hop. The only Black American music that she likes is the blues. Other than that, and gospel. She loves God. She does love gospel, and she likes going to our churches. But other than that, as far as the hip hop and all that stuff, they don't understand it. And my wife's uncle has had a big international hit. So he's an established artist, reggae artist. Like I said, they don't. And I've been there with them, and you don't see them doing anything that's remotely related to hip hop on the island. They're into they do dance hall, they're in the dance hall and the roots reggae and stuff like that, but they're not into what we're into.
I feel
On the island.
There's a lot of West Indian cats that are big on hip hop though. From when I was coming up, like Caribbean cats, like I think some of the cats from Boot Camp were like Jamaican. I mean, and Shine. I mean, like I think he was that. But like in New York City, at least from my recollection coming up, like a lot of the West Indian cats, second generation especially, they loved hip hop just as much. You know what I'm saying? Like from my recollection, Mr. How Music. I'm gonna pass the mic to Mr. How Music. Now, if you could mute your mic, my other brothers. But Mr. How Music, thank you for coming through. And where you from?
So yeah, half Puerto Rican, half Italian. My mother's Sicilian, my father's Puerto Rican. I grew up in Spanish Harlem. Oh, I was born in Spanish Harlem. Grew up in Lehman for a couple of years, and I've been up in Spanish Harlem for probably my first 30 years of my life. But I always had family in the Bronx. So I was born in '78, and I moved to the Bronx because the rent is cheaper. So I've been living here for like 10 years now. But my point is, first I just want to say all praise, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father, the creator of all good and evil. And I just want to chime in, brother Patrick Young. He made a great point, the way he broke down the ADOS and the history of that segueing into foundational Black Americans. When it was ADOS, it was more encompassing or more a broader term that anybody that has African descent, descendants of that. So people were shipped all over, not just to the Americas. So you had people that could identify as ADOS in other places outside of America. And like he said, maybe there was a copyright thing or whatever. So they had to create something a little more exclusive, a little more less inclusive, and that they would allow them to sue for reparations. But when we keep moving the goalposts further back, and you study places like Liberia was founded by free Black Americans. Are those people considered FBA? Obviously they are, because they founded something, they created something elsewhere. And I just wanted to make that point as far as with Liberia and its history. If you study history, then I have a theory that this is not a theory, this is a fact, that 30% of so-called Black Americans, when they do genetic testing, because I'm huge into genetic testing. I have a brother by the name of Brother Ngozi, who's part of, so like I really get into this when it comes to genetics. And what we learn with genetics is that phenotype does not determine genotype and deep ancestry. Somebody like myself, I could look one way, and when I do a DNA test, I can see I have a direct paternal line to West Africa. There's a lot of Black people in this country, or foundational Black Americans, that when they would take a genealogy test, such as 23andMe, and when they end up getting their results back, they will have a paternal line that is non-African, that goes back to a European man. In their current existence, they are heavily melanated, but when you go to their deep ancestry direct line, it goes back to Europe. Frederick Douglass is one of those people. He's the one that set up Liberia and all of that. Frederick Douglass does not have an African Y chromosome. His Y chromosome goes back to a European man. Same thing with Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King, he's a foundation, a legendary, his maternal line, his paternal line on his father's side goes back to a European. Michael Jackson is another one. His goes back to Britain. Muhammad Ali, he's another one. He does not go, his paternal line directly goes back to Spain or Ireland. I forget, but it's not Africa. Who else? Bob Marley, which he's not considered foundational Black American. He had a white father going back, but he culturally, people love him, but in reality, his paternal line goes back to an English Jewish man from my research. Nas, the greatest rapper of all time, Nas, his line goes directly to Scandinavians and Northern Europe. This is all
by way of his paternal ancestry or maternal.
His father's a musician.
With all these brothers that all these people you mentioned, like this is like utilizing their paternal.
Yeah, utilizing paternal lines. It goes back to Europeans. So I have a theory. This is a theory. Now, everything else I said is fact. This is a theory that somebody like Tariq Nasheed did a DNA test and he found out, oh shit, I don't go back to Africa. I go back to a white American. How can I? Because eventually, if this comes out, it's going to discredit me with my African claims. So you know what? Let's just make it an American thing. And when we push the goalpost back, it goes back to Africa. Puerto Ricans have a heavy African culture. Puerto Ricans are more African culturally. I'm not talking genetically. I'm saying culturally than Southern Black Americans, who have more of an American plantation culture. When you look at the food, the everything, it comes from that culture. It does not come from the motherland of Africa. Puerto Ricans have a heavy African culture. They still practice Yoruba. They still practice a lot of things in these Puerto Rican, towns or cities or whatever in the island there. So, and then when we go to Bronxdale, that's one hood in the Bronx. They're trying to push and that people always want to say, Disco King Mario, but they don't ever talk about Disco King's Mario, where he got his first equipment from, which was from a Puerto Rican guy named DJ Hollywood, Tex DJ Hollywood. Look him up. He's a Puerto Rican. They don't want to give Puerto Ricans their props. Puerto Ricans, I grew up, you had a token Puerto Rican. He wanted to be a blood. He wanted to be the only Puerto Rican around. He didn't want no other Puerto Ricans around, period. So he would badmouth any other Puerto Rican that came around. Then you got other Puerto Ricans that once they get their foot in the door, they want all the Puerto Ricans to come in. So you got two types of Puerto Rican. You got the Spaniard Puerto Rican that he wants to be the only one, and then you got the indigenous Puerto Rican that wants to let his people through the door. So, and then you have outliers and unsung Puerto Ricans that contributed to hip hop. Charlie Chase, all of these people, they can't take credit for things that were set up before them to give them a foot in the door, which they don't want to. Like Ruby D, maybe you went to one or two, you went to a couple of parties here and there. You can't say you at every party, at every place, at every time. You're not omnipresent. You're not omnipotent. You're not the Most High God. So you went to a couple of parties. Maybe they were blacked out parties, and it was all black. But there's other parties, if you came closer to the South Bronx, that were predominantly Puerto Rican. Like the thumbnail on this here, you had the Savage Skulls. If you look up a movie, it's called 80 Blocks from Tiffany's. Look up 80 Blocks from Tiffany's and watch that video, and you see how Puerto Ricans and blacks were like this. And
my thumbnail is actually from 80 Blocks from Tiffany's.
Beautiful, beautiful.
If you guys don't know, the movie that he's speaking about is actually has to do with the outlaw gang culture of New York City of the 70s, which I mean, like the thing, and I mean, like one thing too, like you know, when this can't be emphasized enough for non-New Yorkers, is that wherever there were black people in New York, they were also Puerto Ricans. There's no I remember, even Spanish Harlem. I mean, Black Rob is from Spanish Harlem, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
but you know, even in Spanish Harlem, it wasn't no area, like it wasn't no, like, from if I remember correctly, I never, like, maybe Washington Heights, like Dominicans would bang on people, like not even there though, honestly, like but like where Dominicans were banging on outsiders for coming into Washington Heights. But even in an area like Spanish Harlem in New York City, which has always been associated as a Puerto Rican area, black people lived there probably before Puerto Ricans lived there, honestly, but they would always build with Puerto Ricans. It's never like these racial lines are more among like Italians, if anything, from what I've seen, like in Bensonhurst or like North Bronx, not wanting outsiders in their neighborhoods. But I've never really seen it rocking out like where Caribbeans were like, all right, we don't want these Puerto Ricans up in here, or Black Americans up in here. Like, it's like New York is kind of like doesn't really allow that. In a sense, you gotta go where everybody else is mandatory in New York. We all have to go on the bus. We all have to go onto the train. Like, you can't like really play your hood like that and like never leave your hood, like, you know, like you could in like other hoods, like in LA, for instance. Like in New York, you gotta be around people mandatory. So I mean, like, you don't really like I've never really seen many times like in which people bang each other like that. This guy, both teams play hard, made a good point. Why they call us morenos, and there's actually other terms which Latin cats in like slang, in a sense, refer to like other races, if you will. But like they Latin cats in New York, like they'll refer to black cats as morenos, you know. There's black cats of New York that know exactly what it means. It basically means black cats. I mean, like if unless there's another translation for Spanish.
The etymology goes back to the word more.
More, you know, yeah, absolutely. And so, the oldest structure in Puerto Rico, our most famous structure, is actually called the Moor, El Morro. You know, I'm actually a subscriber of Moorish history, and I'm recently, especially, I'm looking at everything from that perspective, as it relates to this country, as it relates to Puerto Rico, as it relates to the world, honestly. And I subscribe to a lot of that history. I'm not trying to pump it on anybody. I mean, like, you know, at times, like, a lot of these things are brand new to me, because I mean, like, you know, as far as like the new terminologies, like, and that's why I was asking about the history of FBA and whatnot.
You know, with the Moors, they goes back to the Guanches, to the Amazigh peoples, to Sephardic Jewish people, and that those people went into Spain, civilized Spain. You got Alhambra, which is one of the oldest universities in Spain, and you know, also Granada was a heavy area. So it was like southern Spain area, which, you know, the people came out of North Africa, which deep ancestry would go back to the Guanche people, which is like the Canary Islands over there, and the Amazigh, and also ancient Israelites that went into North Africa.
No, but I want to keep us more into America. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just referencing that, you know, as far as showing
with the swastikas. The swastikas, if you were an integrated gang like the Savage Skulls or the Savage Nomads or whatever, and somebody came into your neighborhood, it didn't matter if they were Black, Puerto Rican, whatever, they were going to be chased out of the neighborhood, period. Even if you were Black, you would have been chased by other Black people because you were not part of that neighborhood. If you were Puerto Rican and you walk past, let's say like the Supreme Bachelors, which there's a video online, you can see the Supreme Bachelors, they used to wear Puerto Rican flag. Black guys wearing Puerto Rican flags on their jackets with a SWAT sticker together to show solidarity with the Puerto Ricans. So interracial, Puerto Rican Black families were before hip hop. The mixed gangs were before hip hop. A lot of this stuff was before hip hop even popped off. And when Bronxdale wants to talk about DJ Disco King Mario, they never want to bring up Tex DJ Hollywood. People don't want to really touch on Charlie Chase like that. People don't want to talk about Whip or Whip, and that there was people before them. And then also the Bronx, the Bronx Boys, TBB, was before I think 75, if I'm not mistaken. So that was one of the first hip hop or breakdancing groups. And if you go onto one of the pages that I work with, it's called Mac News 144. You can see Puerto Ricans doing spins and all of that back in like 1955 at the Palladium downtown. You can see also the elements of the dance. What did Bronxdale bring to hip hop? What dance move did y'all bring to hip hop? A windmill, a backspin? There's no dance move that Bronxdale could say, oh, we brought this to hip hop. They said they did burning. They said they did top rocking. The Puerto Ricans were getting on the floor. And do understand, a lot of this culture was anti-club culture because they couldn't get into the club. They didn't have to dress nice. So we could do it in the park. We could put the music on. You know what I mean? We didn't have to get into Studio 54 to get to the party. So it was a movement against the mainstream there. And yet, at the end of the day, I would say, yeah, it was a Black, but when we keep moving the goalposts back, you can't just make it an American thing without making it an African thing. And then one main point before I get off, at the time of slavery, people wanted to make a little side money when they had free time. So when you look at it, like people playing instruments or singing or dancing, in reality, at that time back then, it was looked at as a low-level job. It wasn't looked at something that was, oh, you're going to be rich by doing this. It was looked down upon. It was more like a servant thing than it was like unless you were doing like orchestras or whatever. So people would do like, when they have free time, they would set up a little thing, do dances, do like a little Irish jig. When they're doing the Irish jig, they bring a little flavor to it. You know what I mean? Make it a little different. People would give them money for that. Other people would maybe sing English songs or whatever and bring some nice soul to it. So in reality, a lot of this was slaves performing for white people way back in the days, and it created coon music. All music comes from Black people in America. Country music, rock music, soul music. All of it comes from Black people, period. And then those Black people, you got to give it up to the Africans, period, that came before you. So the thing with this guy, Tariq Nasheed, is he's trying to eliminate the African element and just make it like, and then do understand, this is not FBA for everybody. It's foundational Black Americans from New York. Not everybody. New York.
And honest, like, you said a lot there, Mr. How Music. And I also want to thank you for coming through. In terms of that, and that was my bone of contention, is the whole New York centric argument in all this too, in that what I said earlier, in that a lot of these groups were stuck in the hood together in the Bronx, and if one of them made a move, I mean, it wasn't like Puerto Rico. If there were no Puerto Ricans or Spanish people or Jamaicans or anybody else in the first hip hop event in the Bronx, whenever it happened, 71, 72, which I guarantee there were some in attendance, is what I'm saying. Because like all these hoods were always intermingled in the Bronx, especially. It like there was no doubt if there were no Puerto Ricans there the first time around, that they like by the end of that very year, that there were Puerto Ricans in addition to blacks in attendance. Like, yes, Puerto Ricans are not like big contributors in the MC department. Unfortunately, outside of Big Pun, like there's not many Latin MCs that I fucks with like that. Like they don't like rank in my top like dogs as far as hip hop goes outside of Big Pun. But and I'm not giving Big Pun his flowers because he's Puerto Rican. I mean, he's the one exception. But what my contention in all this is, as far as hip hop history goes, which I mean, there's a succinct date as to when the culture of hip hop started, which is 71, 72. Although there were these dances that happened elsewhere that may have inspired b-boy, and although there may have been people scatting on the mic and whatnot. As far as when they never said, all right, like we got to start this dance movement in the South because we saw somebody that looks like breakdancing doing it, so we got to keep doing it as like a culture thing or as a cipher. Like where it popped off historically, where also it can't be debated that we were around at that time when it first popped off in New York City in 71, 72. Was New York City. I mean, hip hop culture. I mean, and I think a little bit of like the Tariq Nasheed debate in all this is trying to, in a sense, obfuscate that. And I'm not saying that because I'm trying to marry Puerto Ricans into the hip hop culture at its inception, but that just can't be debated. I mean, like at the end of the day, hip hop to me came from the dying off of outlaw culture.
Yes,
like, it really popped off.
And
outlaw culture, I mean, like whether you look at Black Spades, there were Latin Black Spades, and which Black Spades were the illest gang of the outlaw gang, which was, yes, a black gang, but I mean they were Puerto Rican Black Spades, you know, in the Baby Spades and in the Black Spades. There were Puerto Ricans in every outlaw gang in New York City. You know, it was never like, all right, like this is our thing and blacks can't join, or this is our thing and Puerto Ricans can't join. Everybody, like, you know, it's the same in like my building. I mean, like the dudes from my building are black and Latin. I mean, like, and it's us against everybody else. It's not like I'm only fucking with the black cats from my building. Like, nah, these are my brothers. Like, I mean, like, I'm like, if anything, I got beef with people that got beef with my street. You know, like New York culture is weird like that. But I think when we set up standards as to like, like these dudes outright ain't part of the culture just because they don't go through the exact same racism in this country as us. Even though, I mean, like, technically, I mean, like Puerto Ricans have always been shitted on, like by the man in New York City, at least. I mean, we're in the same jails. Like, I mean, like it's pretty much equal representation as far as like police fucking us up or like arresting us by and large. Like hood culture is hood culture. I mean, like, and I mean, like, in New York City at least, I just like take offense with people that really don't know hip hop history, seemingly, telling other people, all right, like you ain't part of us, like, or you ain't part of the hip hop culture. If we ain't part of FBA, I mean, like, and that's something like, and whether black people use that like movement or terminology to build, which I hope, I mean, whatever culture they use to try to build up the black community, I'm with it 100%. You know what I'm saying? Like, but
I just wanted to make a couple quick points, and then I'm gonna drop, but I'm gonna keep listening. So,
and then Mr. Patrick Young, I know you wanted to come through and comment as well, but Patrick, after you, Patrick Young could comment.
Yeah, thank you for your patience, Patrick. That the last Poets Society, it was, you know, that Math Hoffa recently gave them a shout on his message. And when you look at the last Poets Society, you got Luis, I forgot his name, Luis, he's from Spanish Harlem, right there, First Avenue. He was one of the founders of the Young Lords of New York. The Young Lords started in Chicago, and then they took on the moniker and created their own division over here in New York, like the Bloods did in New York. They just took the name and ran with it. So Louis, I think it's Luis Felicia. I think that's a singer. I forgot his name, but I know his first name is Luis. If you look up the Last Poets, one of the brothers in there is a Puerto Rican guy. And like Math Hoffa said, these were the first people rhyming or doing poetry over beats. So now we're pushing the goalposts even further back before hip hop again. So we could keep pushing it back. It's going to go to Africa and Europe is the main point. And I suggest everybody to do your ancestry, see how far back your paper trail can go. Because a lot of us, we're going to have slave ancestry. We're not going to be able to have records that go back that far. It's the reality of what it is. And then, just the last thing with the hip hop and Puerto Rican rappers, there's a ton of great, amazing Puerto Rican rappers. You're never, ever going to hear about them. So, some of them made it a little through the cracks, like guys like Chino XL. This guy was battling Tupac, battling all the top people, Chino XL. He was considered a lyricist.
Rest in peace, Chino XL, too. He died this year.
Rest in peace to the brother. May the Most High receive him and keep him. And then you got a guy like Joel Ortiz, who's using his Puerto Rican last name. In my generation, you couldn't use your government. That was kind of corny. Kendrick Lamar. It's not creative. You needed to have a flashy name. Kendrick Lamar, what's original about that? J. Cole, what's hot about that? That's just your government. That's some simple, come with some flavor. Bring something to the table. That's the generation I came from. People that had to have a heavy, strong, powerful name, and your government name wasn't rocking like that. But shout out to Joel Ortiz. He's considered another lyricist. And there's a ton of them. But when you come to marketing, how big is the demographic of Puerto Rican? How big is that marketing-wise? It's not that big in reality. But when you identify just with your skin color, and black is very down, it's all over them, so it's a bigger market. And then I'm not trying to say, black people got the flavor. Black people, it is what it is at the end of the day. But to take away how Puerto Ricans help propel and push, when you look at a movie like Flashdance and them implementing hip hop in it, that goes back to, Puerto Ricans maybe getting indoors and getting in places that maybe, because let's be honest, if your wife brings her nephews around from Jamaica, they're gonna be like, stay away from those black guys over there. They're about trouble. So this reputation, when people will come bury, they'll be like, oh, try to stay away from there, whatever. And then somebody would say, you know what? No, this is a guy. I'm in his class. That's my friend. I'm cool with him. I don't agree with that. And then they learned on themselves. But you're gonna tell your kids to stay away from the guys hanging out in the corner. You maybe not use the word guy. Maybe you'll use whatever word you want to use to describe them. And then, a lot of the prison culture, it also reflects into the street culture. But in New York, the prison culture is very different than the culture of prisons in other states. Like, you got a guy from Staten Island who's part of the Wu-Tang Killer Bees, Killer Army, that goes by Don Pacino. He's another lyricist, Don Pacino. Puerto Rico, he was one of the best ones in Killer Army. And when he went to jail, he clicked up with dudes from Staten Island that were God bodies. They were all black. He was the one Puerto Rican down with all of them. Shout out to Don Pacino, an amazing lyricist. And he actually, made money in music. Me, I rap. I done rap with Coogee Rap, who's considered the top great. Google Coogee Rap, Opera Steve. Opera Steve did songs with Cameron, Killer Cam, Opera Steve, Coogee Rap, and you're gonna see me rapping with G Rap. When I rap my verse for G Rap, you know what he did? He said, "Oh, hold on, I gotta write something right now. I had a rap already written to get on this song with you, but you know what? Your verse right now, after hearing it, I gotta write another one because your shit is so fire." That's Coogee Rap, one of the greatest rappers ever. Puerto Ricans, you got amazing but some of them never made it, to that level to break through that ceiling there. So I just wanted to make that point. I appreciate you. And, and what you're doing, letting people speak they raw truth, you know, uncut, man. And shout out to the brother, Mr. Young.
And definitely thank you for coming through. How music. Also too, and Mr. Young, before you speak, I just wanted to put the link out on the chat. Again, I'm not set tripping. Like, you know, I'm if you guys are confused by the title of this video, that was done as a clickbait title. You know what I'm saying? Like my only contention within this debate is as far as where Puerto Ricans were in the beginning of hip hop. Were we the biggest contributors? No. And honestly, I'm not gonna front. Like, I mean, I don't like, as far as our contribution lyrically, from what I've seen, like in ciphers and whatnot on the street. Mr. Young, I'm sorry, you got your mic. If you could mute your mic for 1 second. But as far as like in the field, basically, what I've seen, like in the field in reality, that Black American rappers were just 100 times nastier than anybody else. I'm not like, that's without debate. Like, I mean, whether that's in New York or whether that's anywhere else, Black people could just spit it more raw, have better wordplay in a sense, or have a little bit more oomph in like what they do naturally in a sense, dancing and whatnot. That's just maybe a pre-genetic disposition. You know what I'm saying? But as for like, you know, coming up in New York, everybody was inspired by and large by everybody. But in hip hop culture, me as a 40-something-year-old man, like to say like these Black cats aren't inspiring me, or we're not getting our flow from these Black cats in a sense, as far as like how to behave in the streets, like the no snitching shit, like the code of the street. I mean, like, you know, which is not solely from hip hop culture. I mean, we were adopting that from our brothers. I mean, like, what are there dissensions? Yeah, I mean, like, Puerto Ricans have their own culture. Everybody is allowed to set trip on whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? Like, as long as you ain't doing it like no herb and shit, or like where, you know, where you just try to set the standard behind the laptop, right? And like, you know, create new shit or new divisions. That's where my bone of contention lies. But also Kevin Dixon, you actually did make a good point that he said the Bloods were created in New York because y'all dudes used to fight as 20-1. I hope you're a Blood in all this. I hope you Damu, Kevin Dixon. But if you actually, and that's the history of the UBN in relation to what their creation was, beefing with Latin Kings and Yetas and whatnot. But if you look at Latin King history, and again, I don't fuck with these dudes like that, like in the streets, or like Nieta, like they would tell you that they were getting banged on by 5%ers, you know, in the system too. I mean, so everybody has like a group, like I mean, like, and that's okay. I mean, like both versions of the truth may have happened, and that's all good. You know what I'm saying? Like, and like, you know, these brothers in jail used it as a tool to protect themselves, but that doesn't mean that that rivalry is you know, chief among everybody's thinking, especially in New York. Like, I mean, like if Latin dudes of California, let's say, like Mexican cats, ride on like Black cats, that's them dudes. You know what I'm saying? Like that's these cats. If any, like, I mean, like, and my man Era Black, who's of New York, I mean, he could probably testify to the fact that, like, I mean, there's Mexicans in my hood and there's Mexicans all over New York now. Like, just because they're Latin and, you know, Puerto Ricans are Latin, I mean, it's not like we just started linking up with these dudes. Nah, like, if anything, like, we linked up with, I mean, like, we're more like with among Black cats as well of New York, and look at these cats like as if they're outsiders. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't want a brand new standard to be created based on some shit that's created in 2020, a new standard that is popped up in 2024. Mr. Patrick Young, I know you wanted to cook, and Eric Black, you could also cook after Mr. Young. Go ahead, Mr. Young. I'm sorry.
Yeah. One of the things that I wanted to just say was that a lot of people don't really realize. Now, he was right. But certain slaves on certain plantations were given a vote of freedom if their talent made room for them, if their gift made room. So in that sense, but FBA have been traveling around the world performing since the 1830s. A lot of people don't know that. Not only that, we were doing the vaudeville thing and stuff like that. Those, like I said, those whose gift made room for them in that fashion. FBA was also the first stand-up comedian. So we birthed that. We have a gift as a people, birthing a creative gift as a people to be able to birth different art forms.
Mr. Young, I'm sorry to cut you off because I see evidence of some queer in my chat. This dude is actually on a lot of boxing pages. It's Jose Savage, and it's some cornball ass kid. And I don't want to put his race out there, but he's not white. But he acts like he's Latin in a lot of boxing chats. This Jose Savage kid, and just trolls outright caricatures of what like a racist Spanish guy would look like. But that's what, like dudes like this cornball ass crayon community dude, fake Jose Chavez, who isn't a Latin dude. This was actually proven in somebody else's video. They put this dude on blast recently. But this dude or cats like this are like people that at times when they go out, because he race bangs with other troll accounts. I know exactly who this kid is. He's a cornball, but people like this, he put like this comment, like FBGHEY, and this dude is actually a brother. I'll put it out right. Actually, I'll put his name out there. His name is Mr. Shelton. He's an outright cornball, herb ass dude, sensitive. But he likes to stir up shit based on race. Although he's a brother, you know what I'm saying? Like they ain't no brother of y'all or mine, you know what I'm saying? He's just a cornball ass dude who happens to be black. But this dude's existence online is riveting shit up on some troll shit and masturbating or I don't know what he does it for. But you have people like this that stir shit up online, and then it makes it seem like there's more beef than what it is. You see, he stopped commenting because he's corny like that. But But I don't have. I'll take him out of here in a few minutes. But I just want to point something out of how sometimes internet people internet herbs could stir shit up or like set bad trends. You know what I'm saying? Or like mess up a good faith debate like we're having now. You know what I'm saying? But I'm sorry to cut you off, Mr. Patrick Young. The floor is yours, though.
Yeah. And so a lot of people don't really realize how long we've been doing this. The 1890s, you move up into the 1880s, 1890s, during the ragtime era. One of the first great American composers was an FBA by the name of Scott Joplin, the author of the Maple Leaf Rag. So we've been creating genres and things of that nature for the longest. The blues came from what you would call the field halls. So we've been doing these things musically. I say that to say that hip hop was an evolution of where we were going musically, because the foundation of hip hop is funk. And funk, specifically when you're talking about the one, because foundational Black Americans are naturally on the one, was created by James Brown and co-created by the late great Bobby Bird. So I think that the evidence is there for that. Not many people know in the 70s, when Bob Marley came to the States. One of the things was he was troubled by the fact that every time when he toured, most of his audience in his concerts were white or either other Caribbeans. He couldn't break through to the Black American audience. Reggae has never been popular among Black Americans. You may get a song here or there, but it's never had any long lasting effect within our community because of the power of the one. James Brown, George Clinton, Earth, Wind, the groups like Earth, Wind and Fire, Parliament Funkadelic, Sly and the Family Stone. The one was just way too powerful, man. And it was that same power that lifted up hip hop to the mainstream, into the mainstream. Even if you look at Sugar Hill Gang's Rapper's Delight, which sampled Good Times by Chic. Well, Chic is a disco group, but that was actually a disco funk song. That song had a funk element to it. That bass line that everybody loves so much, which is probably the most recorded, most copied bass line in the history of music, is on the one. And so I think that we have to get to these to the roots of these things. The other thing is I'm disappointed in is the fact that nobody wants to talk to Cool DJ Phase, Green Eye Genie, and Young Blackjack, who are three of the 8 baby spades and black spades who kicked off the whole thing in the summer of 1971. I was trying to figure out why is everybody so afraid of talking to these brothers? They were there and they saw everybody come after them. Disco King Mario nurtured them when everybody else was pushing them, trying to push them to the side. Disco King Mario supported these young brothers, and so I think that and so to essentially try to phase these brothers out as if they don't know what they're talking about. Not saying that you are, but I see a lot of people who are on a lot of these platforms, but they don't want to talk to the original 8. I like to call them. I've talked to DJ Phase, and they're willing to talk. They're willing to tell their story. They're willing to talk about what was done first, when it was done, where it was done, what were the first sneakers that were considered hip hop, what store in New York City you had to be able to go to get these fashions and stuff. So I don't think we can have the one thing that I do respect that Tariq Nasheed did. He went to those brothers and he talked. As a matter of fact, and he opened the floor to everybody, but everybody didn't want to participate and be a part of it. So I just don't know. I think that a lot of people say that they want the truth, but either they really don't want the truth, or they're afraid of what the truth will reveal. And even now, the South has kind of taken over hip hop. And before that, the West Coast with the G-Funk era, and it's the beats, it's those tracks, and none of those things. Let's be clear, none of the funk. There's nothing about James Brown's music that was African. Now, he's from an area that is considered the Gullah Geechee corridor. I don't know if you know what Gullah Geechee is, but And so those people are of African descent. Matter of fact, they're probably the purest blooded Africans in America. Yeah, they're probably the purest blooded African descendants in America, but they were not immigrants. That's the whole thing about Foundation of Black America. Foundation of Black Americans are not immigrants. We are the descendants of the native black people of two parts: the native black aboriginal people who were here, and the later West African slave population, which my family is a part of, because my family came from West Africa. We did our family research. My family came from West Africa through the port of Savannah, Georgia, in the year 1732. So nobody can tell us to go back. We've been here longer than a lot of people in the United States.
And Mr. Young too. And I actually met James Brown in Augusta, Georgia, funnily enough. But going back to what you were saying too, it even like, again, I rock with Moorish history, and that's not to say like that anybody else's history is not true. You know, I just look at things of late, especially being that I've traveled America very thoroughly now in my old age. And I'm looking at like, nothing I want to get into a debate about, but like I look at things as like maybe this Moorish history makes more sense than like white man's history. But also, damn, I wanted to make a point about that. I forgot, Mr. Young. Arab Black too. Before I move on to again, I'm gonna put the link out for anybody. Again, it's all love, bro. I'm not here like fucking set tripping for Puerto Ricans or whatnot. Even though I am Puerto Rican of New York City, I love hip hop. I mean, I loved hip hop. I don't love hip hop anymore. I'll be full disclosure. Like my son's 22 now, and I never let him listen to rap up until maybe he was like 17. I hate drill music. I can't fuck with it one iota. I couldn't stand a lot of Southern rap. No offense, Mr. Young. When it got to the whole Trinidad James Gucci Mane era, I just tuned out at that point, honestly. As not to shit on the South, I mean, my top 5 rapper, Andre 3000, one of the illest rappers of all time. He's firmly from Atlanta. Like, so it's not shitting on the South. It's just when I tuned out of hip hop, you know what I'm saying? Like, not like that. I don't listen to hip hop at all anymore, but I just can't keep playing the oldies in a sense. There's only so many times you can play Wu-Tang or play Cool G. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I've tuned out of it because of that. And I mean, it's extremely destructive music nowadays. I mean, like, and I made a point of that yesterday in my live stream, in that it's becoming very disposable, even down to the artist. Like I mentioned the Tupac dying story, and how even though a lot of New Yorkers at that time were anti-Tupac because of him beefing with the East Coast around the time he died, that for a few months, I mean, a lot of people were like depressed about Tupac dying in New York and all over the country, honestly. Whereas now, I mean, like these rappers that all look and sound the same, I mean, like they die and it doesn't even register with people. I mean, it just like they die and like we're sad about it for like a month and then we move on, you know, like, so it's almost as if like the product that is not being controlled by minorities, whether they be Black or Hispanic. The people that run hip hop are liberal Jews, honestly, but they've made it to where drill rap is like the biggest thing. I mean, to me, it's not a natural phenomenon. It has no funk in it. Drill rap, that shit is just whack, and it's extremely destructive. But right now, I mean, like I'm saying this tangent because like I'm not invested in the music so much today. But also, too, I mean, if we could build upon this, like, if it's done under the guise of FBA, I don't care, like, you know. But if we could get to the point where American Black people are at the top rung of the hip hop industry for real, like, because Dr. Dre has white bosses, Jay-Z has white bosses, you know, but if we could build upon like foundational Black Americans being the bosses of hip hop at any point in the future, that'd be fantastic. I hope that whatever tool is used to build up the Black man, I'm not with it. I'm not opposed to it 100% because that doesn't tear down the Puerto Rican man. Because I mean, like Puerto
So
Ricans have Black in our lineage. You know, like so whatever avenue, so long as it's like productive and they could and we could use it to build and like control the destiny of this music in our communities. I mean, I'm 100% with it.
so so hip hop is a part of the music industry. The music industry is controlled by white people. We're in a white America, white industries, a white world. Hip hop created, you know, and primarily done by Black people is a street thing. You know what I mean? So no matter what, there's always going to be some Black people at the park or in their basement or wherever creating some rhymes, and you know what I'm saying, or in the street freestyling amongst their peoples, things like that. What you see in the mainstream from rap is all watered down and, you know, produced and, you know, to the masses to be sold. So, you know, it's a thing of, you know, it's an underground culture. You know what I'm saying? There's always going to be a mainstream. There's always going to be an underground. You got to be in tune with what's going on with underground, where hip hop started in the street.
Yeah, Era
So
Black, like nowadays, do you still fucks with like new rap? Let's say
no. But I was gonna tie into that. So, whereas you can flip in and out of culture, hip hop is for me as a foundational Black American or African American, however you want to put that, not mixed with any other culture, not the Caribbeans, islands, Jamaican, Patois, Dominican, anything. Hip hop is my culture. Hip hop is what raised me. Hip hop is my walk, my talk, my attitude, my thoughts, my feelings. It's all in my music, my music. So I have no other culture to go to or cling to. It's my thing. I can't go in and out of it. Even though I may not listen to it like that anymore, it's still mine. Those are still my sons. Those are still my nephews. Those are still my cousins. This is still my culture. You know, even though they're taking it and whitewashing it or doing whatever they're doing with it on the outside to how it looks to the people on the outside. On the inside and industry and amongst my people, it's ours.
And what about the second question in regards to like the drill, are you still tuned into like new rap?
That's not even hip hop no more. That's not even hip hop. Like hip hop is evolving, you know, from the boom bap beat and all of that to some other stuff. And that's for every generation of hip hop and the kids that listen to it in their generations. It's for them and their time. You know what I'm saying? Hip hop has always been a young thing. By the time you 25 or so, you out of it. But 30, you ain't into that no more. You listening to R&B and, you know what I'm saying? You're a grown man and now your kids is here and they listening to something else that done changed on you. So, you know what I'm saying? That's just the progression of it. It just started not too long ago. So it's gone through its progressions and it is where it is now. But we don't even know. Nas once said hip hop is dead. So yet he still does it. Or doing some version of it. So, you know, I mean, like there's all type of hip hop, there's all type of rap and stuff to get into, and that will always be our culture. That's always what we're going to cling to. We don't talk like the white man. We don't adhere to the white man, white supremacy, white ways. You know what I'm saying? Our culture is hip hop. That's the only culture we have as actual Black English speaking Americans, not mixed with no other culture. And we don't go into anybody else, you know, Jamaican and other styles and cultures. That's their style and their culture and their way. This is our culture and our way. Even though other people love it and get into it and take it on however they take it, but when you talk about the culture and the way, this is specifically mine.
Nah, word up. I mean, you know, and also too, hip hop is the most important music of all time. I mean, or it's the top dog. It's been number one for the longest tenure. I mean, like if like hip hop, as far as being like rock, kind of like went away as far as being top dog, or like and hip hop took his place, and it's kind of like reigns supreme for at least a couple decades. I mean, like more than 2 decades, like where it's still top dog. So I mean,
Absolutely.
It's extremely, and it came from Black people. you know,
That's all we want. We just want our credit and respect. This is not like a blacks versus Puerto Ricans or like, you know what I'm saying? And there's a lot, like, because I wanted to bring up earlier that within the Spanish speaking diaspora, anybody that speaks Spanish that comes from those islands and those areas and that, you know what I'm saying, that speak Spanish. If I line up Mexicans, Spanish, Puerto Rican, Dominicans, this and that, if I land, y'all all got your inner problems. You know what I'm saying? Just like within the black diaspora, Jamaicans, Haitians, Trinidadian, the mix of this and that, we will have our issues and problems. So, you know, these things just all got to come out onto the forefront. Everybody's got to be man enough to speak their problems and issues, and we can iron them out. It's not so much about hip hop and who likes it, who doesn't, or whose culture and all that. Is not like people have within their own diasporas have their own issues. They not have to spill into black, and black don't have to spill into, you know, the issues of other people.
Yeah, no, I honest, this kind of like debate, it's fantastic that it's coming at the end of the year, like and I'm glad that things are more aired out. Honestly, like my beef, my bone of contention, honestly, Era Black, would be at times like when I speak on a sub facet of this or any facet of it, and like for some herb like to tell me, oh, well, like you can't speak on this because like, you know, or like, you know, like throw race into the mix, you know, or like or what about like this shit, like or like to like basically trying to give me a purity test as to how I feel about like slavery or some shit, like when we're talking about like a certain issue. And that happens a lot with every kind of debate that happens online recently, it seems like, where it's like, all right, like basically give us where you stand on these race issues first. But meanwhile, like, I mean, like that herb that I mentioned in my chat, that Jose Chavez, that I know for sure is a black brother named Mr. Shelton, who rivets it, like, you know, it could be some internet dude like that, like trying to give me a purity test, you know, when I'm I mean, like I grew up in hip-hop culture 100%. Like hip-hop culture, what a lot of it, I mean, like you couldn't like fucking really show your face if you weren't really giving it up outside, like not behind no internet shit. Like and also, I mean, like outside in the real world that I remember, like, you know, old New York, I mean, like herbs just couldn't speak out of turn, period, whether they were right or wrong, you know. But I feel at times that everybody on the internet, by and large, unless proven otherwise, is like a internet dork in a sense. Like, I mean, not you guys, like, not, but you know, I have people with like Pikachu thumbnails and shit, like basically trying to like give parameters as to what I could talk about or what I can't talk about. Meanwhile, I mean, like yo, and Ever Black, you mentioned that, like, where are you from? You're from Long Island, right?
I'm from New York.
Okay.
I'm born.
No, you're from Mount Vernon. My bad.
Yeah.
But you, like, I don't know if you remember like, I don't know how old you are, but I don't know if you remember coming up, like where we would rank on each other, like on anything, including race, bro. Like, I mean, like how many, like my black bros ranked on like the Puerto Rican shit. Like, I mean, like you wouldn't go home crying. Like, I mean, you rank on whatever at, like as a retribution. Like, you know, you could, like, we would air each other out, like dissing each other, and it was all love right after that. You know what I'm saying? Like, as far as friend groups go, you know,
definitely.
Whereas now it's like, all right, like, you know, you can't speak on this just because. And then again, I'm like a fucking white boy looking Puerto Rican on top of that. And I have like cornballs online with the fucking Hulk Hogan like emoji as their fucking thumbnail or some shit, telling me what the fuck I can and can't say. You know, like that's my main bone of contention with any of these things. I think everybody should, like, and I mean, I keep remaking this point. Like, there should be no parameters as to what anybody is allowed to say. Yo, and again, like, before you go ahead, my
I just want to say, yeah, you're gonna have to get over that, because the internet, like you said, is full of a lot of dorks, and they're, you know, just people just, you know, taking the opportunity to you know, use it. You know what I mean?
You know where it ties me up, Era Black? It is that my brothers are black cats. Like the peoples I came up with are black cats. You know, but then if for instance, like us coming up like in the 90s, let's say, and somebody were to say like, oh, like he can't speak on that, he's racist, like in the flesh, Like, yo, that's fighting words. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I gotta like fucking really debate that contention. Like, you ain't gonna call me fucking racist. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right,
like
right. So in the real world or in the outside physical world, it works different than online. And you got to learn that, like, you know what I mean, kind of ignore certain people, only allow certain real, you know, it depends on what you're trying to do with, you know, your time on the internet, and kind of, you know, scale down to what you're trying to do and keep out the riffraff, so to speak.
the main shit I'm not an internet person, and this is like just us chopping it up on regular life. The main shit I'm trying to do on the internet is converse freely, you know, rather than like, we can't speak on certain things. That, you know, like that shit is like, and a lot of time, like, you know, I'll speak on anything. This is not just limited to this debate. I mean, I personally, this is not a Make America Great hat. This is my brother DBIC. If you guys could please cop his stuff, DBIC. That's my brother Q out of Jamaica, Queens. If I but you know, I've chopped it up as far like I'm what people would consider conservative by today's standards. You know what I'm saying? Like, but a lot of times I'd get like contend the notion regarding anything, and like the first thing that motherfuckers try to throw on you is like some race shit. Like, oh well, you like, yeah, like you wouldn't be doing this if like Spanish, like, nah, bro, like ain't that kind of party. As far as personally, but like from my experience, most of New York, yes, do people bang on each other based on race at times? Yes, but as far as anywhere I've been to throughout the world and throughout this country, I mean, does it happen in New York? It happens everywhere. But does that is that something that we're outright contending at all times in New York? Absolutely not. I mean, like, you know,
Yeah, I ain't never seen African American men like call Spanish people spics, call Chinese people chinks, and Mexican people wetbacks and stuff, and try to like really like hit a feeling or hit a nerve or try to, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're not those type of people. We try to get along with people, you know what I mean? Unless people feel a certain way, we pick up on their feelings, and then we respond, you know, defensively.
no,
But
and Eric Black, my contention is that these people that are a lot of times riveting shit up on the internet, I'm speaking only solely on the internet, probably aren't even black cats. Like, you know, it could be white fucking trolls, like with the black thumbnail and shit. But they'll rivet shit up and like set motherfuckers off on some like race contention shit. And like, as is happening in the moment, personally, I've gone through it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like extremely taxing in a sense. Like, you know, as it's happening, you know.
yeah, try not to let them get you, bro. Like, you know, stay strong and keep that, you know, negative energy out. Like, you know what I mean? Nobody can tell us who we are. My thing is about claiming something and stand to the side, stand on your square, and, you know, let whatever you're claiming, you know, go over there and claim, you know, be the thing that you claiming. But yeah, on the internet, you know, people will troll, people will try to get under hit those buttons, and, you know, imagine people like treating the Holocaust and Jewish people and making light or fun of these things, like certain things that are pertinent to your race and your culture, and things they're sensitive to you. You know what I'm saying? And slavery and all these things. This is part of my lineage. So it means more to me than somebody who could just play with it or just talk about it, or, you know, talk about the history. Like, we're having so many history conversations, and everybody's trying to see history different ways and chop it up different ways. And that gets us nowhere. We've been doing that forever. It's just continuing on. And so, you know, people have to learn how to get out of these endless loop conversations and really get down to some grassroots, really things that are really real. Like, I really have my grandparents, me, my great grandparents was a slave. You know what I'm saying? So, like, all these things are close to home and hit home for an original like me. So I can speak up on things and speak for things, and, you know what I mean? Like, I can represent something. So I just want everybody to represent something and stand on your square. What we see with hip hop, what we see with African Americans is other cultures and other people will you know what I'm saying, use it or be into it, but then drop it, or you know what I'm saying, or make light of it, you know what I'm saying, because they not really connected, they not really, you know what I'm saying, to the people, you know what I'm saying, and to the spirit of it. Now it's more of a thing to get money off of and flip, you know what I'm saying, and hustle. So we know that. I know that, being a Black American who's listened to this, and this is my culture all my life. You know what I'm saying? I watch the same people that you love sell out, you know what I'm saying? But we've seen that times before. You just gotta have a third eye for it to be able to see past the, bigger media and what people are trying to show you, and to be more connected to it, grassroots and from the spirit. And everybody can't do that. Like before it was hip hop, it was soul. You know what I'm saying? And always been soul music, and saying and that's what was sampled and rebranded back to us in hip hop. A connection from the past generation, James Brown and his times, soul music, into now the newer generation and the youngins who listen to their parents' music, and you know what I'm saying, and all that type of stuff, and it just continues on. So that's the lineage that we're talking about, or that I would be talking about, from an original, pure, you know what I'm saying, point of view. Everybody's not original, everybody's not pure, and everybody, you know what I'm saying, a lot of people will just come in and out, you know what I'm saying? But this is mine, and it's something I can't go in and out of.
Word up. Nah, definitely, man. Yo, who's amongst your top 5? Like before we dip off. Oh, is DMX? I mean, it's from the region near you. Is he amongst your top 5?
Oh yeah, he's up there definitely. I got
top
influences. Yeah, my top 5 is guys like Rakim, Kool G Rap, Biggie, Nas, and guys like that. Jay-Z. I mean, excuse me, like DMX is right around there though.
Yeah, nah, I was only mentioning y'all near Yonkers, aren't you? Like, I never been.
Yeah,
I never been out there.
Yeah, I know. I've known DMX. I got home video with me and DMX, and you know what I'm saying. Messing with the remote control cars and all this type of stuff. I know Jadakiss and the Locks. I party with Busta Rhymes, and I know a lot of different people. Like I said, I lived in Queensbridge. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm born in Brooklyn, Fort Greene area. I lived in Queensbridge. I'm from Southside Jamaica, Queens. You know what I'm saying? I went to school with Nicki Minaj. I moved to Mount Vernon, so I'm good with on the heavy D side and the boys side of things. Pete Rock, CL Smooth. I know all these people. I'll be sure their sons, everybody. I know a lot of different people. Mary J. Blige, everybody.
There were a lot of artists from Mount Vernon, those areas too. My mother, I don't think I've ever been to Mount Vernon.
New Rochelle, Lord Jamar.
New Rochelle, yeah.
New Rochelle, yeah. I've been with Lord Jamar a couple of times in New Rochelle. And so, yeah, New Rochelle, White Plains, Mount Vernon, that's all the 914 area.
Yo, where was Sue's at? Like, was the
Sue's is like 5 minutes away from me. It's on Gramerton Avenue.
That's still there?
It's not there no more. The foundation of it is there. The building is still there, but it's not open. It's not operating. I don't know what they're doing with it now.
That's Mount Vernon, though?
Yes, it's Mount Vernon. 5 minutes from me.
Yeah, I've been to Mount Vernon. I've been there, like fucking.
Yeah.
But outside, like I never really chilled out there or chopped it up out. You know what I'm saying? Like.
Yeah, Mount Vernon is like a little baby Harlem. You know what I mean? It's like it's got connections to the Bronx and stuff like that. But our foundations is more like Heavy D and the Boys, Puffy, and all that movement. What you call it, DMX and the Rough Riders and all that stuff is, this is the native ground for that.
That's a lot of talent in a small area too, though. Those are heavy.
My high school, Mount Vernon High School. I went to my high school, like everybody, like I'll Be Sure, Heavy D and the Boys. Denzel is from out here. There's just so many different people. It's got, Mount Vernon has a steep history.
Word up, like the I'm gonna be shutting this down. I was actually waiting on my other mans to pull up, but I think he got tied up. And to anybody that pulled up, Eric Black too, man. Like, do you have a channel of your own that you'd like to promote?
Yes, indeed. It's Eric Black TV. Anybody want to check it out? Don't do much posting and stuff, but I'm gonna do more things in the future. But it's Eric Black TV, ERA space BLAK space TV.
I'm gonna subscribe to your channel right after this. I took a picture of your thumbnail. But
Thank
to
you,
my
bro.
man, boxing scholar, I'll continue this discussion this evening again, Mr. Boxing Scholar. But it's like I'll actually highlight his comment. If you guys could, Boxing Scholar was on earlier this evening too. Subscribe to my brother. He's a good brother. You know what I'm saying? Like at times we don't agree, but nevertheless, much love to him and anybody that showed up to this panel. I can't recall the names. I think the other cat was named Jamal something. I can't recall the other names too, but much love for anybody that came through today. And look, like, are me and Ever Black going at each other, even though he's succinctly FBA or Black American, and I'm a fucking white boy looking Puerto Rican by and large? Nah, you know what I'm saying? We could discuss these things cordially, and we may not agree with each other 100%. You know what I'm saying? Like, but at the end of the day, like, let's have these conversations where you could say whatever the fuck you want. Like, let people slip up and say shit that's like racist or that's out of pocket. You know what I'm saying? How else are you gonna find out if somebody's official or not? But let's not censor each other either. You know what I'm saying? Like, fucking don't be hoes about shit and go into shit like, like, you know, because that's womanly shit. Like, I just can't fucking talk to this person. You know what I'm saying? If you got an issue with somebody, especially in 2025, and you not talking to them, you a herb. You know what I'm saying? You're a lame. You know what I'm saying? Like, we should air out everything. Like, you know, and like, it ain't no contention, ain't no battles amongst airing shit out. I'm glad. Like right now, I learned from my man Errol Black and the other Black panelists that we had here that, you know, shit ain't as sweet as like is play as I thought it was, like between like Caribbean Black and foundational American Blacks of New York City. And that's all good though, because I know in real life, like, I mean, I'm like that Ever Black TV in his real life ain't like I ain't fucking with these Jamaicans outright. Like, I mean, because that's not like in New York City, you know, because that's unrealistic. You know, everybody in New York City by and large builds with everybody, man. Like, you know, as long as you from the hood, as long as like we all live in the same hoods, you know what I'm saying? Like, so there's no getting around having to work with each other and not like being open contention as far as New York City goes. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I want to illustrate that stuff too, because I mean, like, although our rappers ain't top dogs anymore after the 50 Cent era, the beginning of the death of hip hop in my eyes.
And Pop Smoke would be running the drill scene right now had he been alive. He would be representing hard for New York. New York would be on top right now if Pop Smoke was still alive.
Yo, do you like Son? I actually heard his work. And he's not bad. Fabio Foreign, I believe his name is.
Yeah, I heard of these dudes, but like, you know, I'm way too old. I'm not into all that stuff like that.
Yeah, they're on the drill shit though. I mean, like, but Son is not like, you know, even though like I can't fucking fathom drill for more than 2 minutes, but you know, you could tell Son is nice. You know what I'm saying? Like fucking
yeah.
And I'm not saying it because he's a New Yorker, but you know, like at the end of the day, you know, like you know, I want to make it clear too as to like the contribution that New York has with hip hop as well. Like, I mean, like, yes, like was there input from other inspiration, whether that be from Africa, whether that be from the South,
from all over,
certainly.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
but
integrated everything.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I mean, like, you know, because there is a lot of like people that be hating on New York on the slide. I don't know why. I mean, like, even though a lot of New Yorkers talk shit and we think like that our city is the best thing in the world, it is. But in spite of that, though, I mean, like, you know, I just don't want these things to play out into a long ploy to try to change history in a sense. You know what, Mr. Polymath and Mr. Error Black, if you with it and you want to stay on, you know, I'll be more than happy to keep going. But let me use the facilities, Mr. Real quick, and Mr. Polymath, the floor is yours if you want to say anything. Error Black too, likewise. Let me just I'm listening to you guys. I just got to use the bathroom real quick.
I felt like if can you hear me?
Yeah.
I feel like if hip hop started in the South, we wouldn't have this problem, bro. And this is why I say New York is a place of immigrants. It just is what it is. You know, the Lady Liberty at the bottom, it talks about immigration. It's the mecca for immigrations. A lot of blacks immigrated to New York. So New York people like New York, everybody got a sense of pride, right? The New York pride is a real thing. Texas pride is a real thing, obviously, right? But a lot of black people that went to New York wasn't born and raised in New York. That's why you get that gumbo that you get, because you're getting black people from all. Black card is a real thing. There's something I can say and black people get it and nobody else gets it. Because we do have a culture, believe it or not. We developed our own culture from migrating and years of Jim Crow oppression, all that other shit, right? That's what that poorness, that Jim Crow, all that stuff, that's what made us what we is, with all the jazz and all the other stuff. But to say that Latinas have a part in hip hop is crazy to me. They were there. They were definitely there, but they were just mingling in black culture. You know what I mean? To give them credit for it, that to me is absurd.
Well, I feel you, bro. And, they were there they were there. I mean, they were doing the breakdancing and stuff like that, but they weren't credited on the mic. They wasn't like, they weren't the most influential in it. That's what it's all about. Who can really influence the masses? And Fat Joe is like the first Puerto Rican to really do that.
Well, check this out, bro. If Eminem said that he started hip hop, how would we feel about that, bro? He was there. He 8 Mile. He was poor. He grew up around the niggas. He grew up saying nigga. He got a tape saying nigga. How we feel about that?
But which Puerto Ricans are claiming that they invented hip hop though? Because I put that out earlier. I mean, like, unless I don't know of something that happened online, I like a Puerto Rican who's saying that he invented it or even took.
Fat Joe said Cool Herc. Nobody said that they invented it. Nobody's made the claim. No Spanish man has made the claim that he invented hip hop. That would just be like crazy.
Eric Black, what did he say though? What was it that Fat Joe said about, like?
Yeah, Fat Joe was talking. Fat Joe said Cool Herc and Grandmaster Flash and them created it, but he got off of the hip hop thing. He went into foundational black Americans, who he said foundational black authority, and then he said something about the leaders of them, and then he said they're racist. This is all the stuff he went into.
No, I did hear. I was more like I just would like, just in case if Fat Joe or anybody made a claim like about Puerto Ricans or Latin people creating hip hop under, and like even a small percentage. Like I just wanted to see what, like, if somebody had put that out there or if it's just something that I see online, because I keep seeing that 50-50 shit, and that's certainly not the case. Listen, like at the end of the day, like and with American black men, I'm gonna, and this is not kissing ass, bro, because I'll give it up like in the flesh, like the same way I do online. Like the whole world copies the American black man.
I know this.
As far as the flow, like the dress, and that's, but in the like at the and here's
the foul thing. I'm gonna let you continue. Everybody is not me. Everybody is not that. And it's all right for us to claim something, or to, you know what I'm saying, for us to claim something in this, you know what I'm saying, in this world, or, you know what I'm saying. So I just want to say that. Continue, bro.
Nah, and if we find the like components of like hip hop or hip hop culture, I mean, like in the 70s or whenever, if we found it fly and like we rocked with it, like which Puerto Ricans did from the beginnings of hip hop. I mean, like, as far as other, like, I mean, like, at a rudimentary level, I mean, like, we were the illest fan base that wasn't black off rip. I mean, at a rudimentary level, even though, I mean, like, I do know graffiti culture as well. Like, I mean, like, there's white boys that do graffiti, though. I ain't gonna front. And it's like, but,
everybody takes part in the culture, but we know the music and the rapping has been soul music.
And the main, like, even though there's the 5 elements of hip hop debate too, which I've heard in the past, like the 5 elements at the end of the day, like if you take the other 4 outside of MCing, like, I mean, they don't equate to not even 10% of hip hop, especially nowadays. Like to be like the hip hop to me, like honestly, the only component that really matters is MCing. And
right, it's like we just want Michael Jackson, not the Jackson 5, not all the elements, not the breakdance and the graffiti and all that got old, but the rapping part, we can sell that.
No, but like you don't, like, there's evidence of like New York City, like I keep up with like graffiti, like there's a lot of Puerto Ricans, like a lot of white boys that like are still ripping and running and doing graffiti. I want to do interviews with some of them online. However, like to say that they're doing, like, a lot of these dudes don't even listen to hip hop, and that's not like nothing against them. Listen to whatever the fuck you want to, but the main component of hip hop, which can't be debated, is MCing, and the illest MCs, which can't be debated. And I mean, like, every other race probably contributes 5% of the illest MCs in the world. I mean, the rest of them are American black cats. I mean, like that, like, you know, we can't, like, nobody would front on that. And like Fat Joe don't even rank. Like, to me, Mr. Eric Black too. I mean, like, you know, like, you're near the Bronx. I always had like a theory at like that maybe Fat Joe was cock blocking the rest of other Puerto Ricans from getting on. Like, but also too, I always found it very suspicious. I mean, this is kind of going off on a little sub conversation that Bronx dudes never got on like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and
he never
you've
put
been
them
to the
on.
Bronx. And
he never, Bronx dudes was trying to get on through Fat Joe. He never put nobody on like that. And Remy Ma got on through Big Pun.
And you traveled around the other boroughs, I'm assuming too, like BK and whatnot.
Of course. I'm born in Brooklyn.
I mean, if like out of the 5 boroughs, I mean, top 2, the Bronx gotta be one of the top 2. If like, I mean, like, you know, like as far as how it looks, how motherfuckers give it up, like dudes are thorough in the Bronx.
Brooklyn is the borough, as far as I'm concerned. Out of the 5 boroughs, Brooklyn is
top
the borough.
2, but the Bronx is like but what I'm saying is how underly represented the Bronx is in rap. To me, it's like a conspiracy. Like, how, like,
well,
and there's dudes
to me, honestly, in my critique, is not that many really great MCs from the Bronx, or they don't really produce MCs like that. More Queens and Brooklyn and Harlem too. Like, the Bronx really don't produce MCs like that, or like, you know what I'm saying? Like, in my opinion, the Bronx always been kind of like the original and the grain and the, you know what I'm saying? But not like the glitz and the glamour and the style of it like that as it had evolved into.
I don't know. It just seems like, I mean, like, because I mean, there's Queens. I mean, like, shout out to my brothers in Queens. I ain't shitting on y'all, but like, there's like parts of Queens that are fucking on some suburban type looking shit. You know, the Bronx, I mean, besides like the North Bronx, that shit is all hood. And even the North Bronx got a hood. Like,
yeah, it's real dusty and grimy and dirty. So it's like, yeah, those are those beginning elements, but then it's more about the glamour, the glitz, the styles and the ways, and you know what I'm saying, that evolved throughout the rest of the boroughs. And the more the rest of the MCs from the boroughs really kind of kept the underground growing, the Bronx really wasn't representing that hard. Like, Queens like held up the underground for like some years in the 90s. It was, everybody was coming out of Queensbridge, Southside Jamaica, all of that. They was holding the underground as far as New York, you know what I'm saying, rap up.
That's my conspiratorial mind that play, Mr. Eric Black TV. I look at it as like, yo, they weren't letting these dudes on, like, because the Bronx, I mean, like, and that borough's packed out. I mean, there's mad motherfuckers in the Bronx. Like, it's like Brooklyn. It's big.
But you know, the Bronx is primarily Puerto Rican and Spanish kind of borough.
They got a lot of black cats out there too, man. Wherever they're Puerto Rican, there's also black, from my experience.
No doubt, definitely. But hey, speaking as a black person who's been out there, works out there, everything be out there all the time, it's hard to spot some black people. There's many Spanish people everywhere.
Word up. Now we do have a large presence in the Boogie Down, and I mean, like, and I'm not advocate, like, you know, that's a borough that I try to avoid on a traveling man level, you know what I'm saying? Like, because I know how shit gets out there. But I do feel like, in a sense, that, like, damn, like, we're already 50 years deep into the history of this culture, and like, it seems like Fat Joe and a few other people are the only ones that got on from that borough, and Fat Joe ain't even nice like that.
Yeah, Big Pun was the nice one. Remember, Big Pun kneeled down and kissed Kool G Rap ring.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Kool G Rap's in my top 5 too.
Definitely, mine too. So, and he's a black American, you know what I'm saying, rapper. Parents probably from the South. So it's like, But yeah, Fat Joe was on nobody's list as an artist, a rap artist. Nobody was big, you know what I'm saying? As far as black African Americans, he's not nobody's favorite. You know what I'm
Puerto
saying?
Ricans too. I mean, unless they're like dick riding, like those kind of Puerto Ricans,
Yeah.
the
Like we
heavy
like
flag
Big
waving
Pun.
ones. Like
We
we
like
ain't
all
putting Fat Joe on our shit either, bro. Like I
no,
never
we
heard
like
black or Latin cat say like, yo, put in that Fat Joe record, like, you know, fucking like at all ever. Like I mean,
yeah,
unless it's like in the club.
until lean back.
Yeah, no, it's like on some club shit only, and it's not like, you know, I gotta listen to Lean Back. That shit just came and went. You know what I'm saying? Like, but
It was everywhere. No, it was a huge record.
it was that 2004 era. That was a confusing time in hip hop, though, man. That was like when that at the time when I started tuning out too.
Oh yeah.
Or the beginning of me tuning out.
I feel you. Yeah, that would be the same thing for me too.
Yeah,
You want me to tell you why I'm a little disappointed, bro? I'm a little disappointed because Puerto Rico, not only do they have a culture, people think Fat Joe is a spokesperson for the black community, but he's not. He's for the Puerto Rican community. Like, same as Nikki Haley. When Nikki Haley went up and endorsed Trump, and then they made those comments at Trump's rally, Puerto Ricans was on Nikki Haley top. Like, hey, man, what the fuck you, to the point where he said, I ain't endorsing no more candidates. So Fat Joe coming forward to say, hey, we was there at the beginning, it's kind of disappointing because it's like, bro, what are you doing? You're causing a non-argument. Even white people who don't want to give black people credit for nothing say, yeah, hip-hop is theirs. The ones who stole everything from us say, yeah, they can have hip-hop. Like the one that's in charge of, they own all the record labels. They even admit, hey, yeah, they started this genre. They could say, oh, well, we got Eminem. We own rap because we got Eminem. We got the record labels. But no, they even like, yeah, they own. So Fat Joe considered himself an ally, coming forward, sparking a conversation that don't need to be had. To me, is just like, it's like frenemy type stuff. Like, bro, are you really with black people like you say?
Also, I wanted to make a point too regarding Fat Joe's wording, because I did hear when he dropped the N-bomb in describing that stuff, like as far as describing like the FBA, or I don't know if he was describing the FBA, Tariq Nasheed individually, or Son from Brand Nubian as being broke. And however, I'm gonna be 100% candid. Like, coming from New York, I've said it in past videos, I've probably dropped the N-bomb a good 2-3 million times in my life. When Fat Joe mentioned the fact that these dudes were broke N-bombs, like yes, like within the frame of that conversation, being that FBA represents like black Americans, like, I mean, he should have curbed like the N-bomb in that set of sequences. However, and that's like a set of like, you know, the way he framed it. However, like, I mean, I didn't view it. I viewed it as like like if somebody disses you like in the hood, like, you know, and says you ain't about it, like, you know, they'll call you like, you know, you broke. Like, that's the first thing they go on. If they pair it up in New York City, from my experience, like with broke and N-bombed, like, I mean, like, I like would always look at it like, or like in most cases, like it's, and in that case too, and even though he did speak out of turn, but I ain't think that in that sequence he was using it as like, and maybe you guys could expound on that too. I just want to see your perspective. Well, but I didn't view it as him saying it on some racist shit. Like, again, that was an extremely poor choice of words within the frame of that conversation. I looked at it as like, yo, he's just saying that these dudes are broke. What do you guys say though?
So I think first of all, he's talking to Math Hoffa, and he's doing well now. So he's the guy that he's talking, or, you know, sitting across from, having a conversation with, is kind of like, he's not FBA, and he's also doing well. So that's one thing. Secondly, as a foundational Black American, African American, purely, when I use nigga, like, I don't just freely use it. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's not something freely just
Facts, bro.
Around like that. Like, we use that amongst our own people on our own time like that, where I could say my nigga.
Hey, and tone matters too. If I'm like, what's up, my nigga? You be like, oh, what's up, bro? Hey, I'm like, hey, nigga. You be like, oh, what's the problem? Like, it's like, a tone to it.
And that's one thing.
We understand that.
Like in New York, I mean, like, if like every like you know like Caribbeans say it, like you know, and it's always in the first iteration of what you said. Like I'm not advocating Fat Joe. I don't like the dude as a rapper like that, and he doesn't speak for the Puerto Rican community as a whole. But in the frame of like that conversation, I just didn't take it. I mean, he probably had some other intention. Who knows? But like, if I were to hear that conversation like in a barbershop per se in New York City, whether and it was had by like somebody who was Puerto Rican and Trinidadian, as is the case of Matt Hoffa and Fat Joe, that I don't like in my experience, like I don't think a lot of like people would have jumped up like, yo, like, you know, like y'all racist. You know what I'm saying? Like from my experience. Again, and I'm gonna be candid, like I've said the word millions of times and it's never been on no race shit like that. You know,
Just
like
the thing. Will Fat Joe, if Lord Jamar sitting there as just a guy in the seat in the background, right, and having that conversation, does he continue on like that, and does Fat Joe check him? I mean, excuse me, and does Jamar check him if he does?
if they would like be like in a contentious, like if they're debating about it.
No, if Fat Joe's just rambling on using nigga, right, going on like he wasn't there, nobody checked him on that. I don't know if there was some foundational Black America. I think that one of the other dudes to the side was, but no matter the case, he just kept it going. You know what I'm saying? He felt safe and no problem. And Fat Joe doubled down. He's not stopping using that word, or you know, nobody's gonna check him about anything. So, you know what I'm saying? But if somebody was to check him on that, you know what I'm saying? It could have been an issue. You know what I'm saying? But everybody, it was just led on to like, hey, that's all right. But now after everybody hears it, it's like, oh man, why is he dropping all this nigga? And he's downplaying foundational Black American, and he's calling them racism, and he's trying to discredit, you know what I'm saying, foundational Black American and hip hop. And that is theirs. So it's like a lot of offenses going on, and amongst Black people, we don't, you know what I'm saying, like we like, you know, can we really check? I mean, we all use that word, but you know, it was so much that Fat Joe amongst on top of that word was doing. It was like it's too much. Somebody check this.
He was doing the most, and that, like, and you're absolutely right, Mr. Polymath. You like you go next too. My bad. But he like in that sequence of what played out, and he came out with that shit early too. Like it seemed like, you know, Matt Hoffa was just trying to explain like the whole situation from a 40-foot view, and Fat Joe went in there immediately, like, you know, on attack mode, and then used the M-bomb in that sequence, like you know, to me, and personally, like, although I've said it many times, I like try to refrain from using it. Like I'm an adult now too. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like it does look unsavory, but I honestly like he like Fat Joe he may have been racially inspired in a sense. It sort of comes off that way. I'm not gonna front. Like, you know, listening as an outsider, it sort of does come off that way based on the set of circumstances that like was happening in that little conversation. But in most instances in New York, you know what I'm saying? Like when I hear people say it, like or when I've heard people say it, like I like barely, when it's come from like minorities, like have I seen many instances of people like nah, chill, like, you know, like fucking don't say that. Hopefully that shit changes too. I mean, like I think we should kind of like dead the word in a large sense. I know it is used as a placeholder at times, like fucking in conversations amongst hood dudes, but if the word could go away like tomorrow, like, you know, I think we'd be a lot far better off. You know what I'm saying? Like,
what I didn't like about it, Sir Foul Player, is I got the sense that Fat Joe was checking Black people as a whole, instead of, if you in the culture, you say, oh, we was there at the beginning. Okay. You sparked that debate probably like 2 years ago. Then you sparked another debate about you saying nigga. Fat Joe was always in the forefront, going against Black people with the culture that he's claimed that he's a part of and embracing. It's like, brother, you cannot possibly be an ally. And if you listen to the tone of it, bro, he's talking down. He calling them broke, broke ass niggas. He's calling them drift. Like he just talking a whole bunch of shit. And this is what I do not like about it, right? So there was a content creator that's a Puerto Rican guy. He was cool. He's cool. At least I thought he was. But he started beefing with this other black dude, right? And the moment he beefed with him, he went live and just started calling him all kind of niggas. But he
Who's
had
that, though? Just put his shit out there, bro. Like, I mean, racists shouldn't be covered up, though, man. Like,
I don't even want to give him no shine, really. That's what it's about. It ain't. He's not a big time dude anyway. But it was like you've been on this dude panel the entire time, and no conversation. He like, man, nigga, play. Like he didn't even use it casually. But the moment he was mad at him, he understood to use it to insult him. And that's what I feel like Fat Joe, he was every other word was he was putting nigga where it didn't even belong, just so he could insult him. You know what I mean? Like and you can't tell me that he's a rapper. Rappers go and jot their thoughts down. That it's premeditated. You get what I'm saying? So his mindset alone, he prepared that. He even said you fuck with the wrong person. So meaning he had already practiced this speech in his head. Called Lord Jamar, disrespected him, said he was the worst of the group. Now that's opinion. I ain't really too much mad at that. But he meant that conversation to be disrespectful from top to bottom. And I just didn't like the tone that he had. It was like finger wagging shit. It's like, hold on, bro.
Right. Absolutely, bro. I totally agree. And the thing is, he don't understand. He did so much slip ups. Like Lord Jamar mean more in the hip hop community to Black Americans than he do. You know what I'm saying? Like he fucked with the wrong one. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it's funny because him and Lord Jamar are in the same videos. You know what I'm saying? With their broke asses or whatever the case may be in videos together. You know what I'm saying? Acting like they for the same cause and with the same group.
I have one bone of contention with the Lord Jamar. Like, and this was in a secondary interview that I heard in response to like Fat Joe, where he gave like the breakdown of like the Puerto Rican experience. And he made it seem like he was like, like a lot of like Puerto Rican cats, like their parents didn't want them listening to hip hop. That's 100% true. I mean, like fucking like they hated hip hop music. Like my dad sort of fucked with it, but my mom Dukes definitely didn't. And like but he kind of like drew it out as if like there's like sort of like a outright contention that happens like as soon as like these groups like interface with each other, like and him coming as a New Yorker, that you know what I'm saying, like whereas a lot of people don't really know like how things work in New York in general, not like how they work, like how they flow in New York, like unless like people like break down and explain these things, like but I just thought that he kind of like drew it up as if there's always this contention between like these minority groups in New York, like or like that's like something that's ever present. I mean, like,
well, I think now what's being exposed is a lot. See, what happens is a lot of things are on people's minds, but they don't say them. You know what I'm saying? And you give them the right opportunity, the right situation, right circumstance, then they'll say some stuff. And now, people are just really exposing themselves and what they really think. And, starting with a dude like Fat Joe, who's always been racist or always felt the way from what people say about him from his past and to what we see right now. So yeah. Cuban Link talks a lot about Fat Joe and how these conversations with him and Mambo, how he's always dissing black people and calling them niggas and, what I'm saying, a lot of foul shit, which we know, which I know as an original black, non-mixed American, that all these other coaches say stuff about me and my peoples. I'm you know what I'm saying? I'm very aware of that. I know what goes on in your house and what your parents are talking about and all that. And then when you come outside, you play with me and act like everything's cool. But now let the right situation arise or whatever, or you get around your peoples or, you feel high and mighty and money or whatever kind of way, you know what I'm saying? Or maybe you had too much to drink or whatever the case may be. Let the right situation come out. Now you telling what's really on your mind.
No, definitely, and like a lot of these things, like to say like in New York that people don't look at race outright, that's a BS story too. I mean, I have personal experiences, not like where I was the benefactor of like being racist upon like fucking by like black cats. I mean, if it's happened at a minimal level.
At what
But like
age?
I
How
introduced
old?
my people, my Brooklyn peoples who are black to my people I wanted them to get illicit employment from in Washington Heights. And like the dudes from Washington Heights that I was like, even though a lot of them cats were like hicked out Dominican dudes, like they were outright with their racism, like as but like they're looking at it like, yo, like these dudes aren't from here. Like, are they trying to rob us? Like, you know, or we can't go with you and them in the car to try to do this deal. I mean, like, you know, and that like to me, I'm like, yo, like that's fucking extremely offensive. But as is happening, I'm like, yo, I'm not gonna tell these fucking killer ass dudes, like, you know, like nah, fuck that, you know, like the because you know it's like a case by case situation, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Like fucking but at the end of the day, I mean, like from my experience, are there Puerto Ricans that are fucking like on some like super Spanish out, like, you know, they don't fuck with anybody else? Absolutely, man. I like fucking but is that something like that we like some unlike spoken of rivalry that, like, you know, like drives us? Like, nah. I mean, I don't that, and certainly like Sir Foul Playsky, like, you know, never like doesn't feel that way. Again, like if I banged in the street on dudes, by and large has been on like my own like country, honestly, like fucking like I ain't even bang on Dominicans like that, like coming up, you know what I'm saying? Like fucking but that like but it was not like, you know, it doesn't like to me, I personally like as far as New York and this culture goes, like hip hop, like Puerto Ricans, like to me, in a sense, we still are, in a sense, even though we have been involved in the culture, like outsiders within like the hip hop culture, like we're just perfect. Like by and large, I mean, like we don't have
Everybody's a
MC,
guest in
MC
hip hop.
representation. We're
Yeah.
like connoisseurs in a sense, like at the end, you know, like fucking like outright, like, but you know, I like as far as like a rivalry, like nah. And like we, you know, and I want to make this abundantly clear to anybody that comes on later, you know, like our creation or our contribution to the creation of hip hop is basically like more represented among the fact that we were there early on. But as far as creating these things that like created hip hop, like particularly funk, you know, nah, that's not the case. That, you know, it's, and more importantly with the MCing, like, you know, it's not solely that we're underrepresented.
Hey.
It's like, you know, the black brothers do put it down, like iller outright. I mean, like statistically, way more than us.
Hey, we fuck with Rico Suave.
Hells no.
Well, I do.
I don't even know who that is.
Nah, that like yo, but I'll any and Mr. Polymath, I ain't let you cook that often, man. Like but anything else you like to?
Yeah, I was. That's
any
all.
other
That's all it is.
observations that you've peeped?
I feel like the dog whistle in this whole thing, man, is like anytime black people try to have something for themselves, everybody got a problem with that. And that's just so frustrating, man. It's like everybody's allowed to have their own culture. Everybody's allowed to be like non-exclusive. You know what I mean? Inclusive, excuse me, to have exclusive shit. But us, like we gotta open the doors for everything. Like I can remember even in Texas, man, when like when they was having like the immigration crisis or whatever. They was talking about what ICE was doing to the children. Everybody was saying, "Where's black people at? What? Why we gotta put on our fucking cape?" Like when we were saying Black Lives Matter, y'all said all lives matter. Like that's what I'm saying. Like
What
every
was the
time we
example
try,
you said? I'm sorry, like regarding the like Texas and the migration. Like what was the example? Like, could you say it again?
they were saying because they were putting ICE was putting the kids in cages and separating the families, and then people were making videos saying, "Where are black people at? Like why y'all not helping us? Why y'all not marching for us like y'all did with Black Lives Matter?" And it's just like, God damn, there's so much pressure on us. We can't have shit for ourselves. We got to include everybody, right? Like when I see videos of white people talking about hip hop and I just put like laughing emojis, they automatically run by, "Oh, I can't talk about hip hop because I'm white." I ain't even said nothing. They they say black people have a race card. Them motherfuckers slam that shit down like the Uno reverse card quick. The moment you do something like that. But yeah, it's like that. Even that in a sense is white people saying that, you know, black people have a race card that they can't use because we use it when we losing our lives and stuff like that, right? They use it when they go to Walmart and they have a problem, you know what I mean, with the supervisor. Can I talk to the manager? You know, that's when they use their race card. But they think that they're the rightful owners, and that's what we're trying to say. Like, we don't have shit. They took everything from us, kidnapped us from Africa, brought us over here. You know what I mean? Didn't allow us to read, you know, get the history book. Everybody knows the history, right?
No,
And
no
then
40 acres in a mule.
no 40 acres in the mule, all that stuff, bro. Then out of the poverty, we create music. They come and steal that shit from us. Rock and roll. Come and steal all the genres. Rock and roll, country music. There now, if a black person tries to participate in country music, they are immediately laughed at by them and shunned out. Beyonce tried to integrate the country music. They were not having that shit. Even though we started it, they are not having that shit. Lil Nas X, they would not consider his music country music because they didn't want it to chart on country music charts. So they could be exclusive with their shit. But when black people say, hey, something as small as the obvious that we created it sparks this big ass debate. And it's just like, you just facepalm like, bro, what are we doing? What, we can't have shit? Not even the crumbs.
Because it's so big, hip hop runs the world. It's the largest thing out there. And it's like, oh no, we can't let black Americans have any part of that.
Now, but the standard bearers has to, like, in a sense, if this move is done like where black people become the standard bearer outright, like as to like certain things just shouldn't be allowed, that's fantastic. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the way it should be. You know, but I mean, like and the thing is too, like, the executives that run hip hop, which aren't black and aren't minorities, I mean, even though they're fully entrenched as far as their like where they are in the hierarchy, which is basically running it, you know, I don't view that as like, yo, these dudes can't be toppled away from that position, like, you know, where we like or black so-called black people of America dethrone them from that position outright. You know what I'm saying? Like, fucking like if we were to flip up the game entirely, which I mean seems impossible, but it's not in my mind.
You know, I feel like Dr. Umar. If Puerto Ricans, Dominican, if the Spanish diaspora would just claim Africa, you know what I'm saying? Just like I have Afro-Cuban, Afro-Latina, and that Afro stands for Africa and connected to Africa. If y'all would connect the bloodline back to, you know what I'm saying? We all tied in. It's black versus white. Like, we're all the part of the black side. And y'all can have y'all culture and y'all split offs and stuff. We all do that. You know what I'm saying? We don't trample on y'all cultures and y'all expressions of y'all music and everything, but give us our due.
It come down to respect. Are black people worthy of having anything in this country? That's only exclusive to them. Because the sad part about it is we have ownership of hip hop, but we don't have ownership of hip hop because of all that stuff that we talked about. You know, white people coming in and taking over and stuff. Yeah, they don't monopolize to where all the money draws up to them. Ain't no fucking black people up at the top. You got the Leo Cohens, you got all these people, you know what I mean? Jimmy Iovine's, no white people, a lot of Jewish people, a lot of white people and Jewish people, but no black people. So it's
zero black
at least give us the credit. God, like we don't ask for anything else. Not much. You know what I mean? We're always getting the crumbs. And the one thing I feel like is a verifiable fact, I don't even know how this is even disputable. Like, what? Black people didn't create hip hop? We got to share percentages? What?
It's crazy.
And this is another far out conspiratorial theory that I mentioned yesterday in my channel, but I ain't mentioned the names. And I was saying how they may try to remix history in a future, a not too distant future, and try to say how the rainbow community had an inspiration as to the creation of hip hop, laced on the fact that fucking nasty ass Bambaataa is the way he is. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to remix it.
We're not having it. We're not having it. Yeah, we're not having it.
No, and these things should be then these like, and that's like, you know, a lot, like I hope that like Mr. Arab Black and Mr. Polymath, you know, would you guys be surprised if they try to flip the script and like try to, you know,
they always
nudge their
flip
way
history.
into that?
They always flip history and flip the script, but just like right now, and finally we standing up, we not having it. Like we not letting one man or some one incident change the culture.
Word up. No, because they get cute about like, all right, like, you know, about the rainbow community fucking having like roots like fucking in ancient history, and that shit wasn't like rocking like that. But they'll blow up that contribution.
They got roots in the disco era and all of that. You know what I'm saying? At which we, you know, took some from.
No, ancient history. You know, like how they'll try to make up like evidence. Like this dude could have been like fucking Fugazi and shit. So like naturally, like the original, like the ancient bloodlines of these people had large contributions by like Crayola communities. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to like get cute in the future sense and like try to nudge like that bit of history into hip hop as well. Like, I mean, that's me being conspiratorial though, of course.
I hear you, bro. We ain't having it though, man. We not having it. We shut that down real quick if they do.
Yeah, they like, and again too, like, I mean, like, we're on the verge of 2025, man. Like, if at the end of this, it could be where like, you know, like the history of this is all cemented down into play, like, which I mean is not impossible, but also more importantly, as to like the standard of what's allowed and what isn't allowed is enforced by American black men. Listen, I'm all for it. Like, it's the way it should be.
Absolutely. You know? And when we get ours, just like if we get reparations, everybody will get theirs. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? People should be rooting for us to get ours and to do what we need to do in it because everybody follows us.
Word up. No, and like in the case of a lot of people that I know, like, I mean, like, you know, like black, I have a lot of black dudes that are my brothers. I mean, like, phenotypically, I mean, my grandkids, like, even though they're my brother's grandkids, like, but he's on drugs. But these kids are black. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people in my family are black. Like, fucking.
We all black down the line. That's what we try. That's what Umar was trying to say as far as the Spanish community, like claiming that their roots and their music and stuff still goes back to Africa too. On the other is white and the line, and then on the other side it's the ethnic people of the world, the black people of the world, and white and everything goes back to Africa. So, you know what I'm saying, me being African American, I'm just saying that, hey, I'm just, you know, and me not being mixed, I'm just representing what I am. I'm not disregarding anybody else's thing. I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying, I am a thing and there's other people like me. And,
don't shit on the American man's contribution either, because at the end of the day,
we did things in this goddamn America. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like that's all it is. Like, you know what I'm saying?
And hip hop is like a miracle in a sense too, because look at where it came from. That shit came straight from the hood, like from nothing, and it's the illest form of music ever created. Like, it's had the longest run.
It's just indicative of black people. We created everything. You know what I'm saying? We invent things. We know how to improvise. That's Spanish. That's the whole ethnic community. You know what I'm saying? And we just, you know what I'm saying, we've made our way in this world. And we're interconnected. We're all brothers. We're all my nigga and whatever else is in love, in terms of love. You know what I'm saying? But we not letting the white man say that, or we're not letting, you know what I'm saying? We got our standards and guards, you know what I'm saying? When it comes time for battle or war or anything, if it's us versus them, it's us versus them. You know what I'm saying? We're not gonna go to war with ourselves. Jail is a whole nother, you know what I'm saying, gladiator, men fighting for position and power and space. You know what I'm saying? It brings its own thing, like, you know what I'm saying? But we talking about in our free mind, free will, free hearts, you know what I'm saying? We love each other and we're brothers and we're native to each other. You know what I'm saying? You can't have Afro-Cuban and Afro-Latina and all that and it not all be connected. I'm Afro-American.
Word up. Yo, let me leave off with that, Mr. Arab Black TV. Like, again, like, if you could put a comment like with your channel name and whatnot. I know it's posted up on your thumbnail, so I could highlight it as a comment. But good looking out for showing up, man. Like a lot of times I be going nuts talking to myself and like chopping it up with good brothers like yourself. I mean, like, you know, honestly, you did me a big service by just pulling up and chopping it up. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we ain't at war. You know what I'm saying? Like these things could be conversed upon like respectfully and whatnot. Like fucking you know, and like but good looks for showing up too, man. Like and coming through and chopping it up with me on Foul Playland. Any last words like you want like for 2025, being that we're on the precipice?
Yeah, man. In 2025, it seems like, you know, I like how these conversations and these current events have now at the end of the year seem to pull us a little closer and open up more conversations. These are things that men have to do regardless, you know what I'm saying? And only, you know, intelligent and the most mature of men can have the balls to do it, you know what I mean? And come to the forefront and discuss things and get things clear and get understanding. So I want to see more of that in 2025. I know it's going to be here. I know it's coming because we already done set it off. So it can only be more coming. And this could bring more unity, you know what I'm saying? This could bring more understanding. This could bring, you know, there's a lot of good to come from this, you know? So I just want people to remain positive, you know, reach their New Year resolutions, and you know what I mean. We're gonna do this again. We're gonna do this more.
Word up. And now listen, like we can't like discount like how much power the American black men hold as far just on sheer influence, but like you know, they do wield a ton of power like that if used productively. I mean, like could change the world, and it already has. 2024 got the year set off like as far as the year of truth with the bro Cat Williams setting it off and airing shit out. I mean, and this year has been like a ton of exposure. I mean, and we're closing it off now. I mean, like the biggest thing everybody's talking about seemingly is this issue outside of politics and whatnot. But you know, if truth could come of it, if they find, you know, if the truth of Fat Joe being a racist comes out from this, like fantastic, fuck that dude. I mean, but you know, it doesn't mean that he represents all Puerto Rocks, like I said, like and like you already know that being from New York, like Fat Joe, not every Puerto Rican dude fucks with Fat Joe. I mean, like fucking we should have been shitting on his skill a little earlier in the game. For that, I apologize. You know, fucking Fat Joe ain't even a 10% of like Big Pun. But you know, in spite of that though, I mean, like, you know, standards being set, as long as it's official, you know what I'm saying? Like as long as it's official dudes pumping it, I mean, like we need more of that, you know. I'm just anti-birds or anti-herbs, you know, setting like the trend as to what real dudes shouldn't say. That's my only contention. And much love to my American brothers, my Black American brothers, whether they're from New York or throughout the country, you know what I'm saying? Trendsetters for real, like, you know, and I give it up to my Black brothers, like, you know, fucking, and I build with my Black brothers like on a personal level, you know, like fucking I don't need to be trumpeting it, but at times, you know, the internet is the internet, and like, you know, people want to try to hard check you like for stuff that's really non-existent in a sense. But listen, 2025, I mean, like, hopefully we get more truth. I mean, you know, hopefully my Black brothers move up as far as the hierarchy of this country, whether that be fiscally, you know, like we ain't tripping, like whether that be power wise, politically, like listen, I'm with it, you know, like fucking like we just need official dudes, which there are many. Like my whole life I've only seen official Black dudes. You smell me? Like dudes that give it up in the street, or dudes that have crazy heart, that wouldn't snitch on somebody, you know, like that stuff was in a large sense like implemented or created by like Black dudes in the hood in New York, from my experience, you know. And that's, you know, I would never shit on that, you know, like, and like I wish that we could continue with these standards, but and we'll get there, bro. Like I have a lot of faith in our people, But Era Black TV, I mean, like, much love for showing up. And if you guys please go subscribe to this brother. But with everybody else that came to the chat, this is my largest live chat that I've ever had on this channel. If you guys could like subscribe, help me break the algorithm. Like, YouTube doesn't send shit in my direction, but you guys by just showing up and not making me talk to myself have done me a large service. And also too, in terms of the hat, please, my brother DBIC, it's actually his logo right here. I think it's DBIC brand. I mean, if you could help my brother out, like, and he's a black brother too, like, just in case people try to trip you up. But do support his work. And the hat is fly too on top of that, man. It's a well-made hat. Fucking and a great message. Brothers don't kill brothers. But help him out if you can. But and we don't F with Bambaataa neither, my brother. Like, not one iota. Like, that shit don't rock. The fact that like people aren't at this dude's helmet like more, I mean, like, it's a travesty in itself, right? I mean, that's another conspiracy hole that I could go down as well. Pause. But we don't rock with Bambaataa, and like a lot of people attributing with him starting hip hop. That shit is not real history neither. In spite of his contributions, you know what I'm saying? But we don't rock with like what he do. That he's a deviant. But with that, I'm gonna dip off. But thank you guys for showing up. Much love to everybody that showed up, whether you agree with me or not. Like, you know, still love. But thank you for coming through. If I don't come on before 2025, I mean, Happy New Year to y'all. Like, with that, love and success to everybody. Peace.